Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
So here I was hoping to open up the show with a victory for both men and women's basketball. Unfortunately, that was not the case, OB. Both the men and the women fall in their opener. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next segment, but not the start that Buzz Williams and Joni Taylor wanted to have.
Yeah, obviously. And I can't say, you know, I don't cover the women's basketball team on a consistent basis like I do the men. And this is just kind of, they frequently, not all the time, but frequently start slow.
Men? Or you're talking about women?
Men.
The men do, yep.
And so I was hoping that wouldn't be the case this year. And maybe it won't, you know, maybe they're going to, you know, this is just going to be, they're going to be slow out of the gate and then have the kind of season we think they're going to have and have a really strong, you know, November and December. But yeah, that was a surprising loss, very disappointing.
Yeah, you don't want to, obviously, when you have a pretty tough non-conference schedule, right? You need to take the first game. You got to take care of business. And Central Florida, they played well, but the bottom line is some of the things that have plagued A&M in the past plagued them yesterday, and it's a trend with this team to start off poorly.
Well, one of the things they want to do under Buzz Williams is they want to get to the free throw line more often than their opponent. And last night, I think they only got there 14 times, made 8. And Central Florida was there, I think, 31, made 23. Well, there's the game. And one of the things they obviously missed out, the transfer from SMU, Zurich Phillips, did not play.
Phillips.
But they missed it, you know, because they had a 9-point lead with 5 minutes to go and an 8-point lead at the 4-minute break, 4 minutes to go, and scored 1 point the rest of the game. And one of the things they obviously missed was Tyrese Radford, because Boots was the guy that when you had, you know, that could, you know, he had that sweeping driving layup. And yeah, obviously they could have used that toughness last night.
Hey, by the way, it's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño. Football. Look, on Saturday, I thought Le'Veon was done for the year, right? Then I had held out hope. Maybe not, maybe. And then yesterday we find out he's done for the year.
Yeah, that's so disappointing on so many levels. First of all, it you know, hey, the guy's having an all-SEC caliber year. He's one of the best running backs in the SEC. Frankly, I would put him behind only the kid Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. He gets hurt making a big play, a 20-yard pass catch. And, you know, he runs so hard and he has power. And quite frankly, A&M had on short yardage situations, I'm not saying that Amari Daniels can't pick it up, but it's going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah,
because he runs with power.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Le'Veon.
And I think they both complement each other so well. Yes, they both do a little bit of what the other does, right? But to me, I look at Amari as a powerful, shifty back. I look at Le'Veon as I'm just going to hit you in the mouth. Yeah,
he brings a level of toughness, and you know, I know he has NFL aspirations, and his plan was probably to go into the draft. I think he has 2 young boys.
Yep.
So he wants to be a responsible father and take care of them, provide for them. And I just wonder if he'll feel like he can go into the draft off an injury, because are you going to get selected?
Well, It's also, and I don't think we are, but let's not minimize how big of a deal this is. This is their most consistent, best offensive player this year.
Oh, without a doubt. Like I said,
Most
he's an
consistent
all-SEC
best.
type of guy.
Yeah.
Might still be. So your running game will miss him. Now, Amari Daniels came in, and he had that long 56-yard touchdown. Remember, he led them in rushing last year.
Yep.
I mean, he's a very capable, good back. But what you did have is you had when Le'Veon needed a break, you had Amari Daniels come in, and now you don't. So the running game is just unless Marcel gets more involved, I think the running game is going. It can still be productive, but I don't see how it can be as productive without Le'Veon Moss.
I know somebody asked Coach Elko yesterday about Terry Bussey potentially being a running back, and he paused and he cautioned everyone, this guy's still a freshman. We're trying to expand the playbook for him, but he's still a freshman.
Yeah, it almost seems like he dismissed that. Yeah. However, I will say this. There have been other times we've asked, like, if certain players were ready, like Jabri Barber before Florida said, no. And then it turned out Jabri played in that game. Didn't play a lot, but he played. So I do, and I don't mean that he's being dishonest, but I think
things have to develop.
I think what Elko will do is do some things that he doesn't want his upcoming opponents to know. So maybe that's the situation with Bussey. He's going to not telegraph it that, hey, he's going to be a guy we're going to move to running back. Maybe he will be. Maybe only teaching 3 or 4 plays. I do wonder if A&M will suffer at all in pass protection with a running back without Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah, he was really good this year. He had really stepped up his game there. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. Our phone number to call on the Boss Firearms hotline is 979-693-1150, or you can text us on the Little Sluggers text line. Little Sluggers is age-appropriate baseball fundamental classes in Aggieland, Houston, Austin, and Brenham for kids 2 to 8. Sign up for a free trial at cotosports.com. That is COTOsports.com. Obi, let's do the performance of the week, because after a loss, it almost feels hollow talking about a performance of the week.
Yeah.
But there were a couple. I think there were 2 that we can at least, Randy Bond deserves it.
Yeah, Randy Bond's the first one that comes to mind. He comes in, hits a 51-yard field goal, maybe it's 52, and then 55. And basically kept A&M in the game.
Kept them in the game, yep.
So, I think Randy Bond is he's another guy having an all-SEC season.
Outside of a little mishap at Florida on that field that was a disaster, he's been perfect.
16 of 18.
Yeah. And then the other one, I think we got to give Jabri Barber some props.
He played really well.
He played very well. 7 receptions for 80 yards. He had that touchdown. To me, when they needed to move the ball, they went to Jabri.
Yeah, and he's been a really good player for him. What a find this guy's been from Troy, right?
Yep.
He's been one. When we always talk about how good the transfers have been and how Elko's hit on almost all of them. Well, that's one of the big hits right there. Jabri Barber's been a really big addition to the offense. You know what? He'll probably have and need to have an even higher profile moving forward.
Yeah, so when you think about losing Le'Veon to the totality of the offense, if there's anything good, and there's nothing good about losing Le'Veon, let me make sure I say that. The only thing good about the timing is that you can figure out your new-ish offensive identity with the bye week in New Mexico State.
Right. So, you got the bye week, and, I know you're not supposed to dismiss an opponent, but look, New Mexico State, that's a glorified practice. Yep. New Mexico State is not going to beat you. So you get really 2 weeks to work on how you're going to compensate for losing Le'Veon. Yeah.
Look, right. And I'm going to tell you, I was actually very, I don't know if intrigued's the right word, but because again, you just think about the second half and it puts you in such a bad mood. But I was impressed with Marcel's ability to throw the ball in the second quarter. It was a short sample set. I know overall the game was not good offensively, but he was throwing the ball down the field when they couldn't run.
I thought until the ill-advised interception, again, he was trying to throw it away, but you got to throw it into the stands at that point. I thought he was having a nice game.
Yeah.
Nice
game's the right way to phrase it. It wasn't spectacular by any stretch. It was, Lenore Sellers was having but Lenore Sellers, A&M made him have a better game by not tackling.
Allowed him.
Allowed him. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, you notice when we were talking about players of the game, nobody was on defense. And probably the only time that's been the case last year. And I loved how what Mike Elko said yesterday, and what else could he say? But he said, there's no way to sugarcoat it. We were bad, terrible, go down the list of adjectives meaning horrific, right? Especially the defensive effort or lack of effort. I mean, the defense played terribly. There's no other way around it.
No way around it, yeah.
So that's not to say that Lenora Sellers isn't a emerging star. Maybe he went from emerging star to star in that game. But the scheme that they had ready for A&M, the way A&M played right into it, and then when they had opportunities to make plays, and I think they made one play that really stands out to me on defense, and that was the fumble. And he even got a penalty on that, so he didn't get as good a field position. And then when you did make plays or appeared to make plays to stop them, too often you had penalties that kept them going. So it was a meltdown on defense.
How did he describe he and Jay Bateman the issues tackling? Because it wasn't just form; it was out of position. It was
I don't recall any way they just said, okay, we missed tackles because of this. What I still go back to is Mike Elko saying we just weren't prepared, and I tried to prepare them for a guy of that size and that strength. And they're trying to arm tackle and reach and grab a guy that's highly motivated and really big. And he said, look, the guy's 6'4", 242, and he said that's Trey Watson.
Yeah.
So
it's a different type of tackling.
He apparently was trying to get it through to them all week. You're going to have to understand that this isn't your normal quarterback in terms of size and strength, all those things. And, he acknowledged they just didn't get it.
They didn't get
Fortunately, they're not going to see another quarterback with that kind of physical presence or stature until they get into a bowl game or the playoff.
Right.
Because I'm still not giving up on the playoff, even though I don't think they're going to be highly rated tonight.
No, I'm not expecting that. That's another thing. Yeah, today it's November 5th. A lot of things going on today.
Things going on.
Yeah, like the college football playoffs, and then I don't know, probably other stuff too. Yeah. Anyway, it's a cool day, isn't it?
You talking about weather or just
just in general?
It cool. May be.
Yeah. You're just very summery for a morning that was like 59.
I thought, I don't know. This is just my color today.
We're in the holistic planning cool zone, by the way, everybody.
Nothing's cooler than this.
If you want to invest in a pro sports franchise, you should check in investinprosports.com, because normal people can invest in pro sports with our good friends there at Holistic Planning. Shall we go around the room and say hi to the people? What color shirt is Nick Savage wearing behind the glass? Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all. I'm a little angry because you just totally stole my joke, David.
What was your joke?
I was just going to say, it's a super important day. People around the country paying a lot of attention to certain programming later this evening, results coming in, and it was a college football playoff ranking.
Remember yesterday when you stole my turning point and did it in the first second? That was a good shot.
Y'all
right
aren't
there.
sitting over there. Yeah, my bad.
Remember that when you stole that segment from us?
I didn't do it on purpose. I know you didn't do it on purpose either, but anyways.
Anything else you want to provide the audience? Some depth, some analysis?
Yeah, well, we were talking about it back here. We probably think, A&M falls anywhere between the, maybe 17 to 11 range. That's probably a fair assumption. So, just on the outside looking in with a little bit of work to do, and I think A&M's in a good spot to do that.
See, I don't care where they are today, because it doesn't matter. If you win
100%, yeah.
If you win 3 games, you're in. Well, no, rephrase that. You're in the SEC championship.
Yeah, you win 4 games, you're in. And quite frankly, I think that may be what it takes. I hope not. I hope you could be in. But if you get to the SEC championship game and lose, you have 3 losses, and I don't know that you can count on getting in, especially when has A&M ever gotten a break from a committee? So
Never.
I think you're going to have to go on a 4-game winning streak to get into the playoffs.
Playoffs. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Cooper Patterson's there. Coop, what up?
How we doing?
We're good. Well, let's see. Our football team lost. Our men's basketball team lost. Our women's basketball team lost. I believe volleyball lost their last game over the weekend. Soccer lost. So I'm not doing well, Cooper, but your smiles are making me happy, buddy.
Rockets won, so I'm happy. That's what
The
I
NBA
got.
season started?
Yeah, NBA season started.
I'm kidding. I know.
A week and a half ago.
I'm kidding. What do you have for us?
Well, as we just talked about, the A&M men and women's basketball officially tipped off last night with the men playing against UCF and the women against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Both teams came out with losses. The men lost 61-64 in a nail biter, and I have a key statistic from that game.
Yeah.
That really led to the loss. It was Aggies. Well, Obi already mentioned it. Aggies went 8 for 14 from the line, compared to the Knights shooting 22 for 31 from the line. Also, the Aggies scored just 2 points in the final 4 minutes and 51 seconds of the game, with 0 field goals in that time. You're not going to win a game with those stats.
I'm not completely fresh on how last season went, but I feel like that was a theme at times where the offense would go stale at the end of some of the games.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Hopefully, especially when you get Phelps to play and he's going to be the replacement for Boots Radford, hopefully you'll have more consistency in the offense. I hear Pharrell Payne actually played really well.
Was it 15 points?
15.
So he gave him an
15.
inside presence, but I think he fouled out.
Yeah.
So, maybe they can figure out a way to keep him on the court for the whole game.
We're going to talk a lot more about the basketball game with Justin Lanham here in a minute. I already see that he's there. Anything else you want to provide, Coop?
Yeah, the ladies fell 62-56 and off a really poor shooting performance. They only made 3 of their 25 attempts from beyond the arc.
That's not going to win a lot of games. We'll talk to Joni Taylor actually also a little bit later on in the program. OB, you know about Prize Picks. I talk about it every morning, right?
I know.
PrizePicks.com/TexAgs. You know if you use the code TexAgs, you're going to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It's you against lineups, more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections. They got a couple things going on today. So they're rolling out this past week these live square launches, and just look for the red light indicator on squares in the app during games to add live squares to your lineups. You can use partners to support. It's going to be great. You have also other promos. You've got the new user promo, which you know about through TexAgs. You've got the Flex Friday, where they offer protected play to each of their members, and you can win cash back. Taco Tuesdays. Today is Tuesday, so keep your eyes on board for tasty discounted projections all day long. Again, it is prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 instantly when you play in $5 lineups. Check it out. It's Prize Picks.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
And we're back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. He's OB. I'm David Nuño. To go hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. They are your local experts. They buy used guns, ammo, and accessories. Go to bossfirearms.com to start earning money like a boss today and talk to my good friend, OB. You got to hang out with him a little bit during the tournament. Yeah. Justin Lanham, our basketball analyst, joining us here on the program. Alpha Paving's finest. What's up, Justin?
How's it going, guys?
Buddy, did basketball season start, or we got to wait till SEC play? Because that was not the start I expected.
That's not the start I expected either. I think the start of the game looked good, but to finish it off, we couldn't finish it out, and that was kind of disappointing to see. You have a double-digit lead with about 5 minutes left in the game, and I feel like you just got to close those games out.
I know you're a basketball coach by trade, so you probably see things that we don't. So, was there anything that you saw that was a primary contributing factor to that inability to put the game away?
Yeah, I think we fouled too much late in the game, and the clock stopped, and they were able to shoot free throws, and that's a big no-no with a double-digit lead like that. You want that clock to keep ticking, and unfortunately, that clock stopped a lot as they got to shoot free throws, and I think they made 20-plus free throws, and so I think that was a big contributor. Obviously, we didn't score much late in the game, but I think the number one thing was just fouling too much. And I think we're very capable of defending without fouling. And so that was the thing that was frustrating. It was just ticky-tack fouls. It was not even a lot of fouls as they're going to the basket. It's away from the basket fouls. And when they're in the one-on-one and double bonus, I mean, you can't do that late in the game.
Justin, why do you think these teams get better as the season goes on? And look, I think a lot of teams get better with practice, right? That's not just a Buzz Williams A&M basketball team, comment. But his teams traditionally find their groove later on. Why do you think, and how do they maybe adjust on the fly here in this non-conference?
Yeah, I think one thing that Buzz is really good at is I think he gets his teams to focus, like especially in moments where their back is against the wall. And so I think we've seen that a lot when they have been kind of up against, backs against the wall. I think that they have kind of turned corners, right? And so we saw that last year, and I think that was a big contributing factor. I think, too, what you're going to start to see just more across college basketball is as these transfers are coming in, it just takes a little bit longer. Yeah. Practice is one thing, but the game experience is another. And so getting them to really gel in the game is something that's going to be interesting to see. I thought Payne came in last night, and I didn't think it took him long to adjust at all. I thought he did a really, really good job. He did a great job of attacking the young freshman post player that they had, and they got him in foul trouble, and he fouled out. Now, Payne also fouled out as the game went on, but I thought he did a great job. C.J. Wilcher came in and hit a couple of big threes, so there wasn't a ton of adjustment, from the new guys, but I think sometimes those guys that have been in the program and you bring new guys in and just trying to understand, what's your role now, because last year's role is one thing, but this year's role is another thing. And so this is a completely different team.
Well, you mentioned Pharrell Payne. So what are some things in that disappointing loss that you might have seen beyond Pharrell Payne and said, okay, I can feel pretty good about this. This is something that, gives me optimism or continues optimism that A&M can have the type of season that we think they're going to have. And maybe that answer is no, I didn't see it.
Yeah, so because Payne was who he was last night, I thought that Anderson Garcia and Solomon Washington, not necessarily a ton last night, but I think you're going to get to see them thrive even more because of his presence, right? Just because he takes up so much of just mental space from the other team. They're thinking about, oh man, this is a big kid inside. I think that's going to free up Solomon and Anderson some, maybe to crash the boards, get more rebounds, get more putbacks. So that's exciting to see. The one thing I will say about Payne last night that I wanted to see a little bit more, he had, like I mentioned earlier, he had a freshman post player defending him most of the game. And I thought he was posting really too far off the block. I would have liked to see him get a little bit closer to the block. I think he's stronger than that kid that he was playing against last night. So I think if we can get him post touches closer to the basket, I think that we're going to see a lot of success from him.
Look, you don't want to blame losses on the lack of, a player being there, right? But Zurich Phelps not being there, and you really felt the absence of Boots Radford in that game. Yes, he's moved on to play pro ball overseas, but like that other option that they could always count on, that was missing yesterday. And who knows when we'll see it?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a key factor for sure. One thing I will say is Manny, he didn't. I didn't really feel like he showed up last night. He had 2 points, and I don't know if it was necessarily him. He played 15 minutes or so. It just never felt like Manny got like in the flow of the game. Obviously we saw a totally different Manny last year at the end of the season. He kind of emerged as that third option. And, you kind of need him when Phelps is out right now. You kind of need him to step up and be that second option for us. And unfortunately, last night, that really wasn't it. But like I said, it didn't feel like it didn't really feel like he was, flowing within the game. And so I think that's a key piece. As Phelps is coming back from an injury, I think that, he's got to be our number 2 guy right now.
I was not able to see the game because I don't have the
package
to view it on television. But did you get the sense that there was, even though we think we know what they've got, that there was some experimentation going on with the lineups?
Yeah, I think you see that just because they played 10 guys last night. And so obviously as the SEC comes around, you're going to see that shortened to 7, 8 guys at the most usually. And so I think you could see that Rob Dockery got some TikTok last night. Some other guys maybe are playing more minutes than what they should. Hayden Hefner, I think he got 14 minutes or so. And so, as SEC play begins, I think you're gonna see a little bit different lineups. And obviously, when Phelps gets inserted into that lineup, for sure you're gonna see some different lineups.
All right, Lanham, let's look at the next 7 to 10 days. You got Texas A&M, Commerce, Lamar, Ohio State. How do they navigate these waters?
Yeah, I think obviously you got to take it one game at a time. But I think the one thing that stinks about last night and moving forward is that's a game that you feel like you need to win, because you got Ohio State coming up, who just beat Texas last night in Vegas. And then, that's not even to mention the schedule. And I know I'm looking really far ahead, but that's not even to mention, you got Purdue on your schedule, Creighton. You got a tough Texas Tech team. You've got Oregon and Wake Forest. You've got a really tough schedule this year. And Buzz has done that. He said, hey, I think we've got a senior, a veteran team that we can compete with these level of teams. And so you got to take care of these games early, because it doesn't get any easier.
Well, like we learned with football, and I know we were fresh off the South Carolina loss, but like the team that we saw against Notre Dame obviously grew football-wise. I expect the exact same thing from our basketball team, Justin.
Absolutely. I think so. And like you mentioned it earlier, Buzz's teams only get better as the season goes on. Obviously, we had that lull last year in the middle of the season, but I expect this team to continue to get better. Yeah,
the issue is they do get better. And a lot of times by mid-February, they have great traction. And they do
screws
great
up for
things.
their seeding later, though.
But you need to win these games like this because your goal is not just to get to the NCAA tournament, but to win and get at least to the second weekend.
Yeah.
And seeding's going to have a big.
You want to be a
part of
top 5 seed.
Yeah.
Can we agree that we're obviously we're essentially replacing one guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that Boots he was a stud and he did a lot for us. But you got to feel like we've got to be able to replace that guy, and then with the returning guys around him, we've got to build on what we did last year. Yeah. And so I get it. It's frustrating as a fan base to see what you saw, the collapse, at the end of the game last night. But I do have hope, and that that's going to get better.
Yeah, I have hope. And look, we got history to look at that. Buzz Williams figures out deficiencies in his team and does correct it mid-season. We've seen that many times. Justin, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you guys.
Justin Lanham here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. When Justin's in town next time, we should take him to 1775.
No, he's earned it. We had great meals with him in Memphis, but they weren't.
But nothing like 1775.
But that's where I was going. Not like 1775.
So Matt yesterday on the YouTube page, and brought up, hey, I thought Fargo's was your place. Fargo's was our place, right? Fargo's is our. When Fargo's decided to, move on, we did a search and we went everywhere, OB, and we tasted everything, and that's how we ended up at 1775.
Right, and I always raved about the rib tips at Fargo's because I liked them so much. Well, I go to 1775 and I have the same enthusiasm for the 1775 pork ribs and brisket and sausage, and especially the queso mac and cheese.
My thing there is the burnt ends.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the queso mac and cheese, just so delicious. It's 1775 TX, BBQ.com. They are open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Seltzer Parkway in College Station, 979-492-6241. It is 1775. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I think we're having some issues with phone lines, but Brian Broadcasting, I think it's figured it out. So we're going to go to the Boss Firearms Hotline and talk to the Charean Williams of Pro Football Talk and, of course, the Aggie Hall of Famer. Charean, good morning.
Well, is it a good morning?
No, it's not. It's not really good because I kind of went through it, Charean. Soccer's eliminated.
Yeah.
Volleyball, I think, lost their most recent game. Basketball, both men and women lost, and A&M football lost. So, no, actually, it's not a good morning other than I'm talking to you.
No. Yeah, well,
Cowboys lost. Texas
as
lost.
good as the previous week was, I think this week was way, way worse. I didn't think we'd be able to top Saturday, but we managed to do that yesterday. So I've had a couple of nights I haven't slept for a while. I've been so frustrated with how it's going. So hopefully we get that turned around and start rolling a little bit.
How alarmed were you by what you saw in Colombia, South Carolina? Or maybe you weren't alarmed at all and said, you know what, that happens during the season from time to time.
No, I don't think that should happen. I don't think 25 missed tackles and poor coaching and poor play calling and all of that, poor execution. I mean, the only thing you can really point to that was good and went well was Randy Bond. He kicked absolutely magnificently. And it's unfortunate that his kicks ended up not meaning anything. But, you know, it obviously is a footnote now, but those were two just fantastic kicks. So I like how he's playing. After some early season miscues, he's playing great. But other than that, there's nothing you can really point to. And, you know, it's not going to matter in the long term. Elko made some very rookie mistakes, coaching mistakes, that I hope they have somebody there that can fix those. I mean, the very first play of the game, you get an offside, you pick up 8 yards, you decline the penalty. You don't decline that penalty. Again, it ended up not mattering, but it could matter in a game. You take that penalty. I learned a lot of football from Bill Parcells. Moss ended up getting hurt on the next play, and they ended up picking up the first down, so it didn't matter. You call timeout. You don't call timeout with 3:48 left after they picked up 9 yards. It's 2nd and 1. You send 12 players out on the field, or you do offsides intentionally. You have to be careful not to show that's what you intended to do. But you take the 5-yard penalty, you get the clock stopped, you reset the down. The time is way more important than the down. And you don't call timeout there. You you want to give them the first down, reset the down, save 40 seconds. He didn't do that. So there were some mistakes there that were rookie coaching mistakes. I know he's not a rookie, but you got to get better. You got to get better. Those are going to matter at some point. Things like that. There were a couple others, but you know. And then just I thought the play calling was among the worst I've seen this season. I don't know what their plan was offensively. All the plays that worked in LSU, I didn't see those. Maybe Moss is the only one that can run the zone read, or was in that game. He's the only one that practiced. I don't know. They did have some problems with Bussey handing the ball off, but none of those plays, I didn't see those at LSU. We didn't see Reed really use his legs like he had been used. There's a lot of questions I have about the game plan going in there, and then just the lack of execution. I know it's hard to get up. I understand that. 2 games in a row, you're coming off the big win. But, you know, Elko said all the right things after the game and leading up to that game, but they didn't show up, and it's disappointing that they didn't show up.
Charean, I think the most alarming thing to me was the defense just not even playing well at all.
Yeah.
Like, at least you could count on them to limit a running game or make adjustments. They couldn't tackle, and they got gashed.
Yeah, there's no question about it. As much as Elko said after the game that we wore them for LSU down, exact opposite happened against South Carolina. They were better in the offensive and defensive lines. The gashes, we couldn't cut off the edge. They kept doing the same thing. They're running around right edge. I'm like, can you not see it? Can you not get them on the ground? And let me just say, you know, one play can make a difference in a game. From a momentum standpoint and just a mental standpoint, everything, one play can make a difference. If Scooby makes the sack on the second play, 3rd and long. If you get off the field there, they punt, maybe it's a totally different game. Maybe that's the one play that can change it. I personally think the turning point came on the last drive because you finally taken lead.
Mm-hmm.
I was texting people, we weathered the storm. We're in good shape now. We go in and we'll make second half adjustments like we always do. We got this now. So you're up 3 points, and then you have the 2 defensive penalties. And it could have been either 2017 at halftime or 23-17 at halftime, depending on which penalty you take away. And at that point, the crowd's out of it. They're thinking, oh, my God, here we go again. We're going to lose to another top 10 team. We can't get it going. We played the best football we could possibly play, and we're down at halftime. But that didn't happen. It's tied. Then they come out and stop them, and it was pretty much over at that point. So, I didn't see the same team on Saturday that I had seen all the previous rest of the season. I didn't see that team. And that, I think, is the most disappointing thing. It's just I didn't see that team. I didn't see that defense. I agree with you. We could always count on the defense, and they're always really good at stopping the run. They certainly didn't do that on Saturday, and they have to figure out why.
Yeah, they just struck me as a team that was not focused, not ready to play for whatever reason. Now, Mike Elko had said, hey, it wasn't because we were still celebrating the LSU win or that we weren't focused because of the LSU win. I tend to, again, take him at his word. But what else would explain why they? What theories might you have, Charean, why they quote didn't show up?
I really don't. I don't have another theory, but that's the difference, Olin, between a good team and a great team. The great teams go on the road and or even if it's a home game and struggling, and they find a way to. Tennessee found a way to win. Who else? A couple other teams were in trouble on Saturday, and I'm thinking that's the difference right there. Ohio State, I think, no, they played Penn State, whoever it was, but they found a way to win, and that's what you have to do to be a great team. And I think A&M learned that you have to get up every single week, and you have to find a way to win. And you can't panic. I mean, that was another coaching thing. I thought we panicked early going forward on 4th and 1. I mean, I know what analytics say, but you just got to have a gut feeling our defense is going to stop them. And maybe they wouldn't have. We'll never know. But it just felt like there was some panic there of, oh, my gosh, we've got to find a way to get this going. And I don't know that we needed the panic. But nothing was just there. Nothing, again, other than Randy Bond, there was nothing that went right in that game. There was not one player you could point to who said he did his job and he did it very well.
Charean, before we do Aggies in the NFL, Dennis Allen losing his gig. They had been struggling. Just your thoughts on what has happened with the Saints and Dennis Allen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's the second time he's had Derek Carr as his quarterback and has been fired at midseason. But you could see it coming, and it lost to the Panthers, the worst team in football. Before Sunday with the worst record, was really the last straw for Dennis Allen. Unfortunate, his head coaching career definitely is over, but he's such a good defensive coordinator. He'll land somewhere and he'll be very good at that job because he's always been very good at that job. Now, what's going to be interesting to me, we saw Robert Saleh, go to the Packers to be a defensive consultant for the Packers. Are we going to see Dennis Allen maybe go to Detroit and be a defensive consultant for the Lions? I'm not going to be surprised that happens just because of those Aggie connections, but that may be something I don't know anything. I'm just speculating here, but that might be something to watch going forward, that maybe he'll go help the Lions a little bit.
Considering AG might be a head coach next year, wouldn't be a bad idea to get him in the mix early on, right?
Absolutely. And I think AG is headed that way. To be a head coach. I think he will be a head coach after this season. It will be interesting to see where he falls. I hope it's at a good place and not at a place where it's like New Orleans is going to be a place that's going to be very hard to win because they have so many, an aging roster and so many bloated contracts for those aging veterans that it's going to be hard to win in a place like that. So he needs to be patient and pick a place where he can go in and win.
Let's get into Aggies in the NFL, shall we?
All right. Honorable mention, Devon Achane had a really good, I guess it's Achane now, but 12 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, 8 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 121 total yards, 20 touches. Always the concern for him by NFL people. We always knew it, but is he going to be able to handle the workload? Guess what? He can handle the workload. 3, we just talked about him a little bit, but Dane Campbell and Aaron Glenn, what a huge, huge, huge win in Green Bay, in the elements. They are the best team in football right now, playing like it. Aaron Glenn's got that defense turned around and just playing magnificently. They're tied for 5th in points allowed, 22nd in yards, but they're just not giving up any points and playing terrific. He will be a head coach, I would think, in 2025. Number 2, you probably saw it, Thursday night, standalone game against the Texans. Michael Clemens, 3 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble. He was a force in there, just killing that Texas offensive line. The interior of it that we know is just terrible. And Kenyon Green, by the way, is out for the year. Number 1, Myles Garrett, what a surprise. 5 tackles, 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. He had his 3 sacks all in the first half. Just played like Myles Garrett played, but it had been a while since he got a sack, so nice to see him get 3 in one game.
The great Charean Williams, the Hall of Famer, of course, Pro Football Talk, great Aggie. Thank you so much, Charean. We appreciate your time. All right, when we come back, OB, we'll get to some text messages there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center right now. If your organization or your business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during their marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about All Aggie Hullabaloo, Aggie Rain Day Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. And these events offer a wide variety of both in-person options to promote your brand, and of course, they have digital options as well. There's also advertising opportunities in the Texas Aggie magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been with the organization supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. He's Olin Buchanan.
I am.
I'm David Nuño.
You are.
And he's Cooper Patterson at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center as I move my head to kind of tell you where we're going. Coop, I'm sure we got a couple text messages or thoughts on the YouTube page, so break it down, buddy.
Yeah. Well, first I want to talk about some Aggie soccer real fast.
Okay.
I should have gotten this in earlier, but 3 Aggie soccer players were just given all SEC nods. Midfielder Sydney Becerra, defender Carolyn Calzada, and midfielder Mia Pante were all awarded all SEC second team. The trio combined for 28 points, that's goals and assists, which was nearly a third of the team's points this season, so huge contributors there. Wow. But then I have a question from Jesse from Kentucky. Going back to our last thought about basketball, he said, while defense is a great aspect to the basketball team, do y'all think maybe Buzz is too defensive-minded? We end up with too many scoring droughts. The defense keeps us in the games, but when we get a lead, we often have a hard time pulling ahead even more and then get into situations like last night against UCF.
I'm not going to blame it on defense at all. To me, it's sometimes I think the offense gets one-dimensional.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case as much this year because, again, I think Pharrell Payne's going to give you that. And it's interesting what Justin said about, trying to get him closer to the basket and all those things. And look, it was disappointing. I still think you're going to see an incredible basketball season.
Yeah, it's the first game.
Yeah, and I think there was some experimentation going on that shouldn't have been going on because I think you know what you got. But so I would disagree with that. But there were certain players that probably played more minutes and other guys that probably should have played more that didn't. And then some guys like that didn't produce like I expect they will.
Yeah. And look, the track record is they're going to figure this out. That's been the track record.
It always has been.
But you can also be a bit critical of an opening game loss.
Absolutely.
Because I guarantee you, they didn't go in the locker room after the game and be like, hey, good job, everybody.
I hope not.
I'm sure so we're going to have opinions too. Anyway, I think they're going to figure it out as they always do.
They always have, but, again, we would like to not see them have to figure it out.
Yep.
We'd like to see them have it, from the beginning.
As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984. They have your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on Double Dave's, and your favorites are on their way. Mr. Buchanan, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Jamie McCoy. We're going to have the real McCoy on. After that, we'll have the KBTX Roundtable, Joni Taylor. That's all in the 9 o'clock hour before Jordan Pugh and Damontre Moore. It's TexAgs Live. Hey, everybody. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 2. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline and talk to a bundle of joy. Jamie McCoy always makes me feel good about life, about football. I'm sure he might be a little disappointed about the weekend, but he always finds some good things to think about, so we'll talk to him this morning. Mr. McCoy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, David. Thank you for having me on. Not the best week after riding high after 7 in a row, but I'm maintaining.
All right. Well, look, you always have a fresh perspective, so I'm sure there was a lot of things that disappointed you, but let's just kind of go back to Saturday night and give me your overall thoughts on how everything played out.
Okay, I had a few talking points. I've seen the rest of these boys come in with their little notes on the end, so I got a few talking points. Now, first off, going back last week to LSU, I reveled in the week after. I mean, that post week, just seeing all their blogs, all their analysts and whatnot talking about how A&M just took it to them and whatnot. So being on the other end of that and having to hear the South Carolina talk, I'm like, we gave that game to y'all. So it's a little love-hate. It's like I feel for them, but then I also understand how South Carolina's feeling. So, you just got to eat your crow. But off of that, my main thing going to the game was tackling. Gosh, you can't tell me that it wouldn't have been a different game after their second play on offense if, gosh, I'm blanking on his name, Zero. If he makes that sack,
Scooby.
I think it's a different outcome of the game. It's a whole different mindset going into it. But aside from that, we had at least 5-6 sacks missed. We had missed tackles. We were there on opportunities when they caught passes, run plays, not in the right fits. It was just a bad game tackling. And I know Elko laid on the sword and said it's on him, but I just know that they're not saying don't tackle well. I think it was just a lack of focus on the guys, and maybe it was the environment. Maybe it was just being complacent, thinking that we've arrived, even though we're in the right spot. But you got to come with it every game. So that was another issue. Another thing that stood out for me was the lack of penalties. I don't know why A&M is always called for the ticky-tack, whether it's offensive line holding or in the secondary holding. I mean, it happens on every play, but it's always like we get called for those. I hate it. I know there were like Lenore's first touchdown run. We got held on that edge, and there was no call. I don't think they had a penalty called on them until the third quarter. So that was something that stood out for me. Le'Veon going down, terrible. I mean, heartbreaking for Aggie fans, especially with all he's done, the season he was having, and all that he meant to us. And I just want to go back to that tackle. That was Le'Veon. Whether you run the guy over or get tackled right there, you're not getting more yards. It's not his style, but I would have just preferred him to step out of bounds. But the tackle itself, it took me back to Minkah Fitzpatrick when he took Chubb out last year. You're going in, you're not even looking. When you're teaching tackling, you teach the guy to have his face mask up and to go through with his arms. I went back and saw a clip, and the guy just ran through his whole body like he was trying to break down a door into Le'Veon's leg. And it's like, if the whole league went to that style of tackling, no one would have anybody left. And it's not the way the game's supposed to be played. And I just hate to see that. And then lastly, I think this game, I know they're riding high 44-20, but this game was a lot closer than that final score. I hated seeing the interception by Marcel. I think he said he was trying to throw it away. I don't think the fumble at the end was a fumble, but, they went and reviewed and called it a fumble, so it is what it is. But a lot of that, I think, was Beamer trying to run the score up and get his guys in a position, which kudos to him, rightfully so. You're trying to fight for a spot, get a better bowl game, whatever the case may be. But I think that was a little bit of him running the score up. And I think we need to keep that receipt. And I know that's going to come back to bite them next year. Who knows? I don't know how they're going to finish the season. I got a good feeling how we will finish the season. But I'm hoping that Beamer gets his, because first half he had this little smirk where they were riding high, and then we made our push, And then just to see him come back and win, that just got under my skin. So, yeah, those are my thoughts from the game. Hate the way it ended, but I know that we got everything ahead of us. Get right after this bye and get focused. I think it could actually be a good thing for us.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here on TexAgs Live. All right, let's take a lot of those in parts. And
yeah,
the Marcel part, I agree with you. I thought it was an incomplete pass, but whatever. It is what it is. I actually thought he played well-ish. Okay, he didn't play spectacular. I thought there was a stretch of the game where he was really good. We focused on the end of it because turnovers. They didn't lose because of those turnovers, but those turnovers ended it. But I thought in a game where you lose your top running back, right, and they did such a good job at stopping the run, he was able to complete a lot of passes down the field, and that's the part that I'm like, all right, he may have missed some throws, but he also got the chains moving.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, number one, to start out the way that game started, like I said, I played in a game against K-State in my day where everything that could have went wrong. And for him to fight back and get us a lead, which should have been 23-17 after that strip sack that they screwed us on, for him to fight back and get us in that game, kudos to him. Like you said, he didn't do anything to lose us that game. You hate to have the interception, but I agree. I think he played well. I think there were times where their defensive line got to us, and he was able to extend the play. Jabri made some amazing catches. There were situations where not to down Connor or anything, but I think that we would have gotten sacked in a lot of those scenarios, maybe 2 or 3 of those where Marcel was able to extend the play, and that's always a great thing. We just didn't execute. And listening to Elko in his press conference, it sounds like a few of the receivers weren't in the right spot, maybe weren't getting off the way that they were supposed to, which, again, that's a learning moment. You can go back and teach that on tape and say, hey, this is the play. This is where you were supposed to be. What happened here? Like, this guy's expecting you to be here. But, again, with Marcel, this was my thing about allowing him to be the starter is you've got to take those lumps. Granted, you don't want to do it in a losing fashion, but you can't become an experienced quarterback without the experience. And I think that with this game, you take those learning curves and you add it to your game. You put it in your database, and you know certain things not to do, and you know when you need to call on certain things. So it's a learning moment, and I think he grows from this as well as the team.
Jamie, let's talk about the Le'Veon Moss loss in a couple of ways. A, what it means to this team, and B, with losing your best offensive player. And as good as Amari Daniels has been, what does the offense kind of look like? Because it's a different offense with Amari, right? When you have both of them, it's clicking. But when he's the main guy, do they have to use him differently?
I think so. I think what Le'Veon provided us was, no matter who we were going against, I mean, it looked like he was about to have another good day. Even though they had prepared for us, it looked like he was still going to be able to get his. And with him getting his, you have to say, let's stop the run. And that's what makes Marcel that much more dangerous, is because the flow is going one way and Marcel is going the other way. And you put one of those guys in a bind, and it's like, pick your poison. Either you're going to commit to the run or you got to play both sides. So not that we still don't have that with Amari Daniels, and I know EJ is capable, but he's not just a thumper like that. I think what this turns our team into, and Colin Klein, again, with that learning experience, like I keep going back to, Colin, I believe, should go back to his K-State year, 2-3 years ago when he had Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn is not an imposing downhill runner that's going to run you over. I think this team needs to turn into that vibe of K-State team where I'm not saying we need to necessarily go hurry up. I don't think it does anything for our defense, but we need to become a more quick-paced, keep the defense on their heels, whether it not necessarily hurry up, but just a quicker pace of let's get Amari going. Let's get EJ in there on some third down passes. Let's get him in some passing scenarios. And then I like to see Bussy even get back there. I mean, we haven't seen it. We've seen it in some cases, but imagine Marcel back there. You got Bussy, two dynamic duos that are we throwing a pass? Are we going to motion him out and do a 5-wide type deal? I think you need to become more of a let's keep the defense guessing and allow Marcel to do a little bit more throwing downfield. And I think we can still be an explosive team. And we got the perfect two opponents to test these things against before we have to play Texas, where 12th man I think is absolutely going to be a factor.
All right, Jamie, let's talk a little bit about just the pass catchers. I'll include the tight ends here. Jabri Barber obviously taking a big step. I want to see more from Noah, but I know he's super effective when he gets opportunities to get the ball. I don't really like him on the jet sweep that much, but he is an athlete, and you can throw him the ball up high. Just when you talk about the pass catchers overall, what do you think?
I like our situation. Like you said, we haven't done the most with our opportunities, but I think that there's still a lot ahead of us. The fact that we haven't done as much as I know that we're capable of means that the other teams haven't seen it on tape. So we still got that element of surprise. I like seeing Moose come in and get a catch early in the game and just know that he hadn't been forgotten about and he can still be relied on in whatever scenario. I'm speaking mainly to the last game of the year with Texas. Ja'Day having to sit out for one of the greatest blocks you can ask for as a coach against a safety on the crack block. He got to come in and make a couple plays in the second half, but him being out that first half hurt us as well. Jabri made some amazing catches, and I agree with you. Noah can be a jet sweep type of guy, but that shouldn't be our bread and butter, especially when we talk about getting the receivers involved. I like to see him on a post, on a fade. We haven't necessarily thrown one up in a one-on-one scenario like you might see LSU do with the Kyron Lacy. Even if you go 25, 30 yards downfield and you throw a back shoulder, Noah has the body to make you right as a quarterback. And I think we need to go to the well a few more times in that scenario. Now, going to our tight ends, they do a hell of a job blocking. Every time I've seen us go to them in the passing game, they always seem to make the catch. So, again, back to my point about Bussy coming in and Amari, we need to become more of a quick-paced offense, in my opinion, and keep defenses on their heels, whether – back when I was playing, we'd have the tight end moving around, doing different things. Don't allow the defense to sub. Just say, hey, we got these 5 plays. We're going to get a first down, and we're going to keep on rolling. And should we decide that we want to sub and let y'all get somebody else in the game, we'll do that. But the 11 that you got on the field right now, we're going to see if y'all can handle 3 different looks, whether it's 2 tight ends stacked, 2 tight ends on the side, one, whatever the case may be. We've got the skilled players to do it, so I think we just need to be more diverse in how we're attacking and more dynamic as well.
Jamie, let's go a little bit deeper on the defensive side. I know when we have Jordan, he's going to have some takes because he was texting me during the game. That's not the defense we've seen all year. Like even the Notre Dame game. The Notre Dame game, there were some issues, right? But I started noticing it in the LSU game in the first half with some of this arm tackling. That's how I see it, and maybe that's not exactly what happened. But the lack of tackling, man, I'm with you. I think that first Scooby sack, that if it happens, it changes the whole complexion of the game. Obviously, the penalties at the end of the first half, giving them an opportunity to kick a field goal, I think changes the momentum. There's a lot of minor things that in a 24-point loss, you're like, no way, guys, you got your butts kicked. Yes, they did. But I still think you get a couple of those missed tackles. You had 25 missed tackles. Say that number is 19, which is astronomical. I don't think you're down 10 in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Absolutely not. And I mean, going back to what you said, the talking point for South Carolina was, our offensive line, they gave up 0 sacks this week. And it's like, no, guys, but before you say that your line gave up 0 sacks, be truthful and say A&M missed 6, 7 sacks. And that just goes back to, I think it's one of those deals where you get comfortable in what you're doing. This bye week is going to be awesome for them because you get to, every time you go into a bye week, one, you get to get your young guys more reps that they haven't been able to get during the season just because the flow of things and the nature of the business and having to keep the party going. But you get to go back to your fundamentals. And I think tackling has been one of those things that we've just kind of lost a sense of, not lost a sense because everybody knows how to tackle, but you forget to do the fundamentals, whether it's drills that you're doing in training camp. At those points in time, you get to go through everything and make sure everybody's thudding and doing what they need to do, which they probably need to do more thudding in practice. I'm not sure how they're doing things, but this bye week I think is beneficial and crucial for us because it allows you to go back and say, look at the tape, look at how you guys are coming in. You're in position. You need to get the guy at the thigh boards, wrap up a leg, grab a foot, allow some of your teammates to come and siphon to the ball. It was just sloppy. And I know that Elko doesn't teach it that way. I know that these guys, the coaches aren't. I know that that's not the makeup. You just kind of get comfortable and think, I'm going to go put a lick on this guy. And it just doesn't always seem to work out that way, especially when you're just throwing your body, like I said, hitting with shoulder pads. You've got to wrap up. You got to squeeze a guy and take him to the ground. And we didn't do a good job of that. But like I said, I think this bye week will be great for us to get back to the fundamentals and get back to the heart of things and become the team that I know that they can be, especially on defense.
All right, I want you to listen to my optimistic line of thinking for a moment, all right? And I know there are people who get mad when I go optimistic, and then people get mad when I go pessimistic, right? I'm going to be optimistic for you for a minute, right? I think A&M, and I did this with Billy yesterday, it was fun. I think A&M is obviously going to beat New Mexico State, all right? I don't care if Connor's at Marcel, Jalen Henderson, E.J. Smith, I don't care. I think they're going to win against New Mexico State. And I'm going to jump past, okay? I'm jumping past the Auburn game to Texas for a moment. I think at Kyle Field, with that defense, when they tackle, their ability to get after a quarterback, Texas's offensive line issues, and a magical night, I could see A&M beating Texas. Look, not having Le'Veon is going to make it much harder. But I'm saying I think they can, right? And I think you agree with me there, right? Are we on the same page?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So the season comes down to me, to beating Auburn, to put yourself in that position where magical things can happen. And I think this team is better than Auburn, but we know how hard it is to win on the road. So you got a bye week, you've got a practice, if you will, against New Mexico State, a game you should win comfortably, you should. And then there's that Auburn game. To me, that Auburn game sets up a playoff for A&M, right? That playoff game being the University of Texas, Kyle Field, November 30th.
Absolutely. And I think you're spot on in all of that. This bye week is a get right week. Everybody try and get healthy. I'll throw out the optimism. I'm optimistic that we can possibly get Reuben Owens back, which that would be a shot in the arm for the Aggies. But going to that Auburn game, one, let me go back. I don't understand why I know I want to hope that it's not a scheduling thing because I know that the media loves when A&M is down and loses a game. But I don't know if Arkansas had a bye before they played us. I know Bowling Green had a bye before they played us. Missouri had a bye before they played us. South Carolina had a bye before they played us. It's like everybody's getting set up to come and beat A&M, which I hate that. But going back to Auburn, is it going to be a night game? Are they going to put us in another scenario where they try to, it's almost like setting us up for failure, which even we got to be ready for that no matter the case. But I don't think that will be the case with Auburn being as low as they are in the rankings. So I'm hoping that time of day isn't a factor. But going back to this South Carolina game, we were in position. We dialed up the right blitzes. We just didn't finish the play. I don't think Auburn has enough caliber athletes to stick with us. I don't. I heard somebody say it, and I'm not sure if it was an A&M or a South Carolina blog, but I don't think we're going to see the athlete that Lenoris and Rocket were. I don't think we're going to go up against that again until we get deep into the playoffs, and then I don't think we'll see that type of pressure on defense until we get into the heart of the playoffs. So Auburn, as hard of a stadium that is to go in and win in, and as Aggies, we just started getting our road wins this year. I'm not going to sit here and toot our horn and say that we just expect to win, but I do expect to win that game. I think that, again, going back to this loss, I think this tells you it reminds me of playing poker and going on a flush draw that you shouldn't have went in on, and you lost a bulk of your chips, and you say, dang it, this next good hand I get, I'm going all in because I don't have much left to fight with. I think we're in that position right now as Aggies. We don't have a mulligan left. We can't afford to lose anymore, especially not one to Auburn. And I don't see us doing that. I know Elko had the guys ready, but they just didn't focus and finish. And I know that this loss, again, it goes back to me saying this could be a good thing for the Aggies because I see us with tunnel vision on not wanting to look ahead of Auburn, but to that Texas game. And really, I see us with tunnel vision getting to Atlanta. If we do everything that we're supposed to do, everything that we're capable of, and everything that as Aggies we're expected to do, I see us playing in Atlanta. Don't know how the chips are going to fall with the other teams, but I see us getting one of those slots in Atlanta. And I know that they're capable. So, yeah, optimistically, let's take Auburn out. New Mexico State, that shouldn't be a factor, but Auburn, I know what it can be, but I know what it should be. And we should go in there and handle business, and I think we will.
Jamie, I appreciate it, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, David, gig 'em.
Gig 'em, brother. Jamie McCoy, always bringing the great insight. Like, look, before I hit a break, you guys know I've been talking about going on my hunt with Bird Dog. I'm leaving for Brady, Texas tomorrow. I thought, let's have Jonathan Lusk, who's the co-founder of Bird Dog and a great Aggie, by the way, kind of tell us a little bit of what I can expect and what you can still. You have, what, a few hours left to sign up for this event, Jonathan?
A few hours left to sign that. We're excited.
Oh, this is
like
great.
David said, we're going to Brady, Texas. All right, so we start tomorrow. You can get there around 5:00. We'll have cocktails, dinner. Roger Krager will be there. He's going to hang out, get there early. He'll do sound check. We've got 3 hunting spots left and 4 non-hunting spots left. So there's going to be a total of like 18 folks that are there. Private concert. Krager's going to hang out with us tomorrow night, which will be a lot of fun. If you haven't had the chance to meet him, he's going to play 90 minutes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we're going to quail hunt on Thursday morning. It's going to be a blast. And then the afternoon, skeet shooting, hanging out. We have all the meals, open bar. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll have breakfast and take off on Friday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the non-hunting tickets are like $850. This ranch is 5-star. It's awesome. Typically goes for like $350 a night. And so you throw in the Krager concert, all the meals. It's a really good deal. And so, yeah, we're gonna have a blast. Nuño, pick your brain on Aggie football. Chris Harrington's going to be there. And, yeah, man, would love to have folks come out. The link is in the outdoor forum under Bird Dog Hunt. You can find it there. You can buy your tickets. It's a simple step. We had a guy purchase a ticket yesterday. So super easy. We're on our website, birddogit.com. birddogit.com. There's a pop-up that says TexAgs Hunt right when you open it up, and you can sign up there. As soon as I get it, we will send you the details for where the ranch is located, how to get in, and what to bring and what to expect. Basically, you need to get your hunting license, have completed hunter's ed, and then bring a shotgun, 12 or 20 gauge. We'll have ammo for you, and get ready to have a blast.
It's going to be great, and I'm not going to say who, but I know there's going to be a former Oiler there as well, so that'll be fun to do it. Hey, Jonathan, appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you very much. I can't wait for tomorrow. birddogit.com/TXAGS Hunt. It's going to be a blast. Talk to you tomorrow, Jonathan. Thank you, buddy. See you, man. And scene. All right, that's Bird Dog. birddogit.com/TXAGS Hunt. It's Bird Dog. I expect Nick to know who's singing. I'm going to ask, do you know?
No, I don't. I actually said, who is this?
Really?
When we
That's
were coming
interesting.
back. Obviously, it's from the 80s-ish, correct?
Yeah. Do you know who it is, Cooper?
No clue.
Does Callie know next to you? Come on, guys.
No, she has no.
Okay, so look, I'm going to be the old man
Can you
yelling
give me
at
a
the cloud.
hint? Let me try to guess.
Guess.
Well, I said, give me a hint.
Purple.
Oh, that's Prince.
There we
Prince,
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, guys, the guy's like a legend. You know, you guys give me a hard time when I don't know, like, Little Scrabby or these new rappers that, you know.
Little Scrabby?
I
Is
don't
that
know,
a
I just made that up.
Scooby-Doo character?
Yeah, I don't know.
What?
No, that's Little Scrabby. I don't know. They all have little now. Like, everybody's little, right?
Not little, Lil. L-I-L.
L-I-L.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in the hunting community, so I don't really get down with that anymore. Your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. That's Aggie Land Express Car Wash. They're Aggie Land's first green car wash. They recycle 100% of their water. Their new location is on Texas Avenue. You know about the original on William D. Fitch. They have all the car wash options that you want, fairing options, vacuuming, you name it. The new location has the full-service wash. They'll take care of everything for you and ask about their 3 levels of full-service washes. We're going to give one away right now. If you want to try the basic full car wash for free, $40 value, what you got to do is be the first caller at 979-693-1150. That's a $40 value, 979-693-1150. That first caller will get that from Aggie Land Express Car Wash, the Texas Avenue location. Before we hit a break, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Do you know who Prince is, Cooper?
I know a little bit about Prince.
What do you know? Did you just go to his Wikipedia page right now?
No, I didn't. Well, I know Kendrick Lamar thinks he is Prince. Or no, he thinks he's Michael Jackson.
Prince thinks he's Michael Jackson?
No, Kendrick Lamar and the beef with Drake, he was comparing himself. I can't remember which one he was comparing himself to. But apparently it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's better to be Prince in this situation, especially with the information I have online. Cooper, if you can, read us one of the few text messages because people's feelings are hurt.
Yeah, I actually have a YouTube chat from David B. So I guess this is during Jamie's thing. He goes, playoffs? We talking playoffs. I guess he's frustrated we're talking about the playoffs. What do you think about us even thinking about the playoffs right now?
So who said that?
David B.
David B. David B. You know why we're talking about the playoffs? Because it is possible. Okay? You know what I'm not talking about? Not being bowl eligible. You know why? Because it's not possible. They've already got 7 wins, right? So, look, I understand if you don't think this team is capable of making the playoffs because they have no buffer. They have no room for a mistake. I can understand that. Do you think that they can beat New Mexico State? This is for David B., who I'm sure is not being angry. He's just talking. He just doesn't think it's a possibility. Like, I agree with you. I don't want to think about playoffs right now. I want to think about bye week. I don't care what the playoff rankings come out today. I don't care about it in that respect. I don't care about it. But what I do care about is figuring out what the offensive issues are now that Le'Veon's gone and fixing that, right? I want to figure out the tackling. I want to beat New Mexico State. I think I want to go on the road and beat Auburn and set up a showdown against Texas. If you don't think this defense is capable of getting the Quinn Ewers, then I agree. Don't think about the playoffs. If you think this defense is capable of getting the Quinn Ewers, then I want you to be like, okay, I could see a path. And then if you do all that, and that's a big if, I get it. But I think we all think A&M can win on the road at Auburn. We think. We don't know. We think. We think that the defense can give Texas some issues. Okay? Then why not dream a little bit? Dream a little dream like the movie. We're going to hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we're going to talk to the KBTX Roundtable crew. I believe we've got Nicole and Morgan in the house today. Right now, Ground Shuttle, Brazos Valley premier transportation provider. They are known for their frequent and reliable rides to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. And this weekend, I got to experience it on Friday and on Sunday. I didn't use Ground Shuttle. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. Okay? I made a mistake. I was in traffic inside of that freaking parking situation there. It took me like 30 minutes to get out of there. It was terrible. And there was like construction here, construction there, construction everywhere. Ground Shuttle is the way to go. They're just going to drop you off. Boom. You don't have to worry about the parking. You don't have to worry about anything. They do all the driving for you. The website is groundshuttle.com. Groundshuttle.com. Let them do the driving. The table's not really round. It's more of a D-shaped. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Where is the KBTX Roundtable? Hey, Nicole Griffith is in the house.
Where are they? No.
Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
It's a shorter segment. We have Joni Taylor coming on with us momentarily. So you're like, I will be Adam Schefter. I will be Adrian Wojnarowski.
Let me get my phone out on my multiple phones. But no, I was sick last week, so I feel like I have to bring the energy this week.
You weren't here last week, right? I'm trying to think. Okay, you didn't get us all sick. Okay.
No, I'm stepping up to the plate because I missed last week.
Well, what was your take as you were preparing for a 10 o'clock newscast last Saturday and seeing this?
Whew. Yeah, it was rough. So I just feel like we're watching the first half, right? And they're down. And I'm like, okay, just got to get their feet under them, right. New environment, South Carolina, big energy. I too have been distracted at South Carolina by the light show. I missed the opening kickoff 2 years ago.
That's right.
So,
Xavier Leggett. Yep.
I know what it feels like to be distracted at South Carolina. But and then they take the lead right before half, and then South Carolina ties it going into half. So I'm like, okay, 0-0 game. We'll in Elko's second half adjustments, we'll see. This is a big test. He knew this was a big test. He's been prepping. He's been preaching that all week. But then nothing starts to happen. Then you get shut out, and it's 24-0 in the second half.
And if you consider the end of the first half, 27-0.
Yes, but it's just it was. I don't know. It was a poor performance. Elko owned it. He said they had a plan that wasn't the right plan. They didn't tackle well. They didn't tackle the quarterback well. The TV broadcast said that Elko was like begging the defense to tackle Sellers, and so I don't know, just didn't.
I'm watching the highlights right there.
Yeah, let's just watch the highlights again. But it was bad. It was a bad performance. Not that you want to have moral victories. There's
no moral victory in this. It just sucked. It put you. But here I go. Here's a Nuñoism for Nick. Two things can be true, right? You can. I don't know why I was looking at the camera. I'm making a dramatic pause for a moment. No. But two things can be true.
Dim the lights. Get some music.
You can be totally dumbfounded by what you saw this past weekend, right? And you can also be like, went out, and you're in the playoffs. And look, there was somebody who texted the show earlier. They're like, I don't think that you can even think about the playoffs. The reality is, you can definitely win the next two. And if you win the next two and your defense comes to play, you can win that last one at Kyle Field. Kyle Field's a magical place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the message that they're preaching is, everything that we've ever wanted is right in front of us. We just have to take care of it. It sucks that there's a bye week, and so I feel like they're stewing in it. And then you have New Mexico State, which, no disrespect to them, but different caliber opponent. And then you go to Auburn, which right. Auburn has been struggling. And then it's like we've been waiting for the Texas game all year. We've been talking about it, but now it's even heightened. Now because of A&M having 2 losses.
Well, I think if these two teams are fighting for a playoff spot, it's going to be ridiculous.
Oh, it was going to be insane. But now it's this is a must. It wasn't a must win.
It's a must win.
Yes.
It's a must win. If you're an Aggie, it is a must win. It's a must win if you're 1-11. It's a must win. Or sorry, 1-10.
It's always a must win.
It's a must win.
Mm-hmm.
You smash them, right? That's what you have to do. And it's not your Super Bowl, but it's a must win, right? Your Super Bowl hopefully is a playoff berth and then several minor Super Bowls getting in there, right? That's what you want it to be. But look, I'm so disappointed by what I saw. But I do have enough evidence in the 9 games they have played that this defense is significantly better than what we saw.
Yeah, I feel like each year there's always a throwaway game, right? A game that you don't show up to. The plan was off. But then I think what's the most disappointing about this game is what we know this team can play like, and then seeing them go into that environment and just not show up.
But how do they play like the way that we know they can play without Le'Veon Moss?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely hurts, but I think you just rely on Trooper Taylor. That's why you brought him in here. And Amari Daniels is still a capable running back, and it's just next man up mentality. But yeah, definitely. I feel like when Ruben Owens went down, they were like, oh no, what are we going to do? And then Le'Veon Moss showed that he was capable. And so now I feel like they can, and I also feel like this puts a lot of pressure on the offense, like offensive, like wide receivers, tight ends, that they have to step up. It's not just the running back group that needs to carry this team.
You know who needs to step up? The offensive line, which for the most part this season they have. And if they're able to get Chase Basantis back for Auburn and Texas, I think that'll make a major difference in what we see from the running game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just wasn't, they weren't making any, I mean, they were, on Amari Daniels' touchdown run, that was, but you have to have more than one.
Yeah. I mean, you take away that run. What was it, Cooper? I don't know if you have the stat in front of you, but I think they averaged like 2.8 yards per carry. If you take away that play, you can't take away that play because it happened. But
if they didn't have that, then yeah. So I feel like if Elko, I feel like he's, I mean, we heard him in the press conference yesterday, not a happy guy. So I feel like they're gonna get things right, and they have to get things right.
Yeah, and look, this season, the fact that you're still having good conversations on November the 5th, hey, it's election day. I don't know if you knew that, and the first day of the college football playoff.
I'm going to vote right after this.
All right.
I get my sticker.
Yeah, I didn't post a picture. I guess it doesn't count.
So you didn't vote? No.
It didn't count. Yeah. Well, never mind. No jokes. Anyway, where was I? Well, I was going
November
somewhere.
5th.
It's November 5th, and we're coming off a
Isn't this
horrendous loss. Horrendous. I'm not minimizing. It was embarrassing. Like it's the national spotlight. Like you got it taken to you, right? But rinse and move on.
Yeah, they played power too. Ugh,
they did that to troll.
Salt in the wound. I mean, A&M did. It was so like ironic. It was like, so the weekend before, A&M and LSU, A&M white and black matchup. You have a quarterback that can run, and it's a night game. It's basically was just everything but flipped.
Yeah.
It was like,
and we played the Baton Rouge song. They play power. Like yeah, that's good thinking there. Let's close out with Marcel. I think he had an okay to goodish game. I hate the turnovers. They were terrible. I don't think he's why you were losing by 10 with 5 minutes left.
No, I would agree. I think it was a culmination of the offensive line, offensive weapons, not making space, getting open. You lose Le'Veon Moss. I feel like that really, you don't game plan for losing your top running back. So just seeing what kind of adjustments Colin Klein can make, going into New Mexico State. I feel like that's a good opponent to start with, instead of, having Texas right out of the bye. But yeah, this offense needs to, I think individual players on the offense need to look at themselves. Be like, if we want to make it far in November, December, January, we got to step up.
Yep. All right. By the way, thank you very much, Nicole. Great job.
Yeah.
Roundtable.
It's a collective effort.
It's a collective. The whole team's helping us out here. Let's talk about Varsity Grill House. If you haven't been to the Varsity Grill House, you're missing out. The food's really good. It's I don't know. It's not a sports bar. It's kind of cool, sporty vibe / elegant dining, whatever. It's fantastic. The food is really, really good. I had some tacos. They were fantastic. Ribeye tacos. They were so good. It's right next to the Academy. TVs are there. You've got great food, great drinks, great desserts, you name it. It is the Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. Check it out for unforgettable experiences, big events and small events, from signature dishes to custom menus. They ensure every palate is satisfied. It is the Varsity Grill House. Go check it out. We're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're joined by Joni Taylor on the program, and this is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Joni, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I just, I want to talk about the state of Aggie sports with you, but I also wanted to ask you about something. I didn't prepare you for this, so I apologize. I know that you have your holiday bike event coming up soon. Is there anything you can kind of share with me about that awesome event?
Say it one more time.
Your holiday bike event?
My holiday what?
Bike event?
Event. Yes, the bike build. I'm sorry. I have a bad connection. Yeah, we have our bike build in December every year. It's something that we are super excited about. We've done it ever since we came to the Brazos Valley in 2022, and our team raises money to then go purchase bikes at Academy Sports. We partner with Academy Sports, and we purchase bikes. And then we give them to young kids in the community in the surrounding area who would not get a bike for Christmas or who wouldn't have a really good Christmas. And what's really special about that is I think we can all remember the first time we had a bike, right? And just what that excitement was like, whether it was Christmas. I know for Christmas it was when I got my first bike, or a birthday, or just whenever. But also, instead of just purchasing bikes, we actually buy them in the box. And so then we have a special day with our Fast Break Club, and we come over and we actually take the bikes out of the box and we build them. Hence the name of the event is called the Bike Build. And we actually build the bike with our hands, and then we give them to kids in the community. And so it's something that's really special. I don't have the numbers in front of me, David, but I believe in the 2 years that we've done it, we've given over 300 bikes to local kids in the Brazos Valley, and we're looking to add to that number this year.
That's wonderful, and anytime you come on the show, let's promote it because I think it's fantastic that you're doing it. Let's look at last night and just was it beginning of season jitters, just a bad shooting night? How would you kind of wrap up what we saw last night?
I would say it's what I've watched in practice for the last 2 weeks. And so as unfortunate as it was, I can't say that I was shocked by the outcome. We talked to our team after our 3 scrimmages, and I said, hey, guys, if I were to ask you what the identity of our team is right now, what is it? Is it defense? Is it rebounding? Is it pace? Is it shooting? Is it toughness? What is our identity? What do we hang our hat on? When you watch teams play, you should be able to identify, that's their calling card. And right now we don't have that. What I think we have is a team that's not consistent. And we use the word sometimey, actually. And I said, we're sometimey. Sometimes we do what we should, and sometimes we don't. And we've got to get that figured out. With that being said, and this is not an excuse by any means, because I just don't believe in that. We've had enough time to have a group figure it out. But we had 3 players on the floor last night who hadn't played basketball in 2 years, and one of them in 3 years. And so that, on top of limited load for certain players, our chemistry is really funky right now. And that's unfortunate because we came out of our foreign tour having really good chemistry in terms of, getting to play together. But we've had just a slew of nagging injuries, nothing season ending, but things that kept people off the floor. And so we're just not familiar with each other, and it showed up on the court. With that being said, defensively, it was really disappointing for us to give up the points we did in transition, to give up some offensive rebounds, to not be locked in, because that is an area where we pride ourselves on being really elite. And we know that our defense has got to be what we hang our hat on until our offense and our flow and chemistry can catch up. And we just did not do that last night at all.
Joni, I know that you want to have your identity early on, but identities can evolve throughout a season, right? You can figure out, okay, this actually is what we're becoming.
No, absolutely. We can definitely do that, and we're going to do that. We've got to get it figured out. But we need to have had that on our mind by now. We've had enough conversations that is something that should be forming. I think they have a good understanding of what it is that we want, how we want to play, and what we say we want to be able to do. And it helps us set those goals. We play all summer. We work out. We practice. We condition. And then we sit down together at the beginning of school, and we establish what our goals are. And so these are goals that they decided on along with us as a staff. And so we should be very clear on what it is we're striving to do. We haven't gotten there yet, but yes, absolutely. Jalen Hurst said either you win or you learn. And so we've got a lot of learning to do from last night.
Do you think an opening season loss like that not only gets the attention, but really changes the way this UTSA, the mental approach to the UTSA game coming up here on the 7th?
Well, sure. Because here's the crux, right? We have 3 games this week. We went last night. We go at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and then we'll play on Sunday. And those teams are really, really good. However, we can't talk about UTSA until we watch the film on last night and get it corrected. So we've got to address last night. We've got to, put eyes on it, and we've got to sit in it and watch it. And then we've got to move on from it and get better and apply those things to practice, or Thursday's not going to be what we want it to be either. And so we've got to have some quick adjustments. We've got to have some mental toughness and some, just stick-to-itiveness in terms of what we are absorbing mentally with this quick turnaround with 3 games this week.
All right, I got about 30 seconds left, Joni. Just do you like, as a coach, being able to play a game so quickly after and, some time to teach, but maybe not as much time to teach?
Well, it primes us for what we're going to do in SEC. During the SEC, we're going to play 3 games in a week. We're going to go Monday, Thursday, Sunday at some point. And so that's just the way our schedule fell this year. But it's going to prepare us for something we're going to see later on.
That is Joni Taylor on the Boss Firearms Hotline, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Joni, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you, Joni Taylor. They're going to get it figured out as well. I believe in her and what they have cooking over there. We're going to hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Jordan Pugh, I bet you he'll say something that you'll want to listen to. Not because he's Jordan, but yeah, because he's Jordan. I just know him. He says good things. That's coming up next on TexAgs Live. Welcome back. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Took me a little bit longer to get my tea than I expected. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. The guy who keeps it real every week is Jordan Pugh. And one of my favorite things about an Aggie game day is he'll text me during the show or during the game, and he'll make me feel smarter about myself because I see things I just can't present it the way he does. I'm like, God, I feel like this team isn't doing this or this. And then he'll send me a coach's perspective and a player's perspective, and he breaks it down. So he's here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Mr. Pugh, hello.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I mean, honestly, I think I'm doing better than I normally am after a loss. I don't know why, because I for some reason I sometimes like make it about me, and I feel like I failed the world when our football team loses. I'm actually handling it better than usual because it wasn't an elimination game. They can still do big things, but they got a lot to figure out, Jordan.
Yeah. I thought we were horrendous overall as a team. Look, I think offensively, our offense didn't play bad. We just didn't make plays when we needed the plays to be made. Defensively, that was the worst game we played all year. I thought defensively tackling was flat out horrendous. We had so many opportunities to get off the field, especially on the first drive. You had momentum swings within the game where you had plays that were extended by Lenore Sellers. We just didn't tackle well overall. I haven't seen us play like that all year long. Then from a schematic standpoint, I thought that we were out-coached and out-schemed defensively. With South Carolina living in those condensed formation sets, they were killing us on the edge because we were out leveraged. We didn't have a man to play contain. We were getting pinned and pulled all night in the run game, in the QB run game, in the pass sets. I just thought defensively overall, our scheme was not conducive for us to win. And I think they took full advantage of that. We all knew about the talent. We all knew that this could be a possible game where it could end up like it did. We knew about the talent they had on defense. But I think overall, from a defensive standpoint, I think that's what hurt us, and we couldn't overcome the momentum swings that they had. I'm not disappointed because we are still in it. I'm not disappointed because we still control our own destiny. I'm disappointed that we didn't make the adjustments. We normally make the adjustments. Elko normally makes those adjustments on defense, and for whatever reason, we just couldn't get out of our own way. So, man, there's a whole lot to be encouraged about. I still think that we're on the right track. Marcel is the right guy. I think this game confirmed that he's the right guy for me. There was a lot of times, there was a lot of situations where he kept the drives alive with his feet. And they were dynamic. But I think when it came to situational play calling, when it came to those fourth down conversions, I think I texted you 5 times maybe. I'm like, why do we keep running the same play on third down, trying to hit up in between the A gaps? It just didn't make sense. We didn't have a lot of options, and I don't think we used Marcel's skill set very well this weekend from that standpoint. So overall, man, a lot to work on, but there's nothing to be discouraged about. We control what we can control, and we still have a path to Atlanta.
So I'm glad you brought up Marcel, because I've been saying, I was going back and forth with people that, look, I don't like the turnovers. Who does, right? And yes, the offense was not good in the second half. Those are all true. They did not lose this game because of Marcel Reed. In fact, I think they stayed in this game because Marcel was actually moving the ball in the second quarter, which made it a game. You scored 20 points, and you're like, okay, I'm not saying they have to double it in the second half, but it just felt like he was doing things right. But losing Le'Veon Moss hurt this team in that game, their identity, and they're going to have to figure out how to get the most of what they have left.
I think that was part of the problem that we had when we lost Moss early in the game. I don't think that we made an adjustment as far as offensively with Marcel and his skill set with his feet. Look, with Amari Daniels, with E.J. Smith, we're fine at the running back position. Now, the depth is kind of the thing that hurts us a little bit, and it does hurt losing Moss, but I think that we still have everything that we need from that standpoint in that room where we can be effective like we want to. Now it comes back to, okay, how do we implement Marcel and how do we implement his game when it comes to using his feet? And I think that we didn't make that adjustment in that game. And we didn't go in at halftime and make that adjustment, being able to use his feet to effectively stifle the South Carolina defense. I just think that overall, man, it was one of those games that was just a stinker. It was one of those games that you have those throughout the season. But I love the way this team is built. When we went down, was it 14-0? The way that we fought back, the way that we came back and we took the lead. I put a tweet out, I said, man, keep the faith, Aggies. We've been here before. And it's a situation where you look from the Notre Dame game, you look at the Bowling Green game, you look at the LSU game. This team is built to fight back. The only thing that happened, man, was it was a momentum swing, but it was a domino effect in that second half. And we just couldn't find our way out this week. This week, that's the key term. So, man, I think we'll be fine. But now utilizing Marcel more, understanding like he is our guy moving forward, I think the offense opens up more with his feet. And then, like we always talk about, it opens up more in the passing game as well.
All right, I'm going to point out 2 instances that early in the game, early, that I think didn't determine the game, but it could have, okay?
Yep.
The first one was on the 3rd play of the game, the Scooby Williams almost sack.
Yes.
Second play of the game. All right, that should have put them at a 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17. If you make that sack, they're punting. And I know there's a lot of, they kicked your butt in the second half. So I understand that one play cannot have the trickle-down effect but I do think you start off the game with a different type of momentum. That's one.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the 2 dumb penalties at the end of the half to give them the field goal to tie the game to take away the momentum. Just talk about those 2 moments and how they can have bigger effects later.
Well, that's where I was going. I was going with the penalties going into halftime. But the one with Scooby Williams, to talk about that, I think, that's the first drive of the game, wasn't it, right?
Yep.
First drive? Yeah. When you do that, man, all of a sudden you start taking the crowd out of it a little bit. That was big. That's a big kind of momentum swing where you start getting things going and you allowed South Carolina to stay in rhythm. Okay. Now, when we go into the second half, man, you had the opportunity to roll in there with the lead, right? And then when you get the stupid penalties that gives them more life, those are the type of things, man, where I think it swings and it allows teams to continue to be in the fight. That's the one thing where I think that hurt us. Here's what I think that the penalties that Turner got in those games, it wasn't the fact that he got the penalties. It was the timing and it was the situations that he got him in, keeping South Carolina alive when we had the opportunity to steal the momentum away. And, man, it was one of those things that we talked about last week. When you're looking at it, man, you're coming off a high win. You're going into a hostile environment. It's where the players have to take over at this point. And I think that's one of the things where they learn from this, but they also got to understand, man, in order to go from good to great, you got to be able to take the moments away. And the one thing that we didn't do in this game is we didn't take the moment away from South Carolina. It gave them life. They're at home. They're on the road, nighttime game, primetime game. But, man, those penalties are huge, and they play bigger factors than what people think, than what people know, especially when you're in a situation to be able to take control of the game.
How do bad habits happen during the season? And, I mean, I understand the how, but, like, a defense. I saw it in the LSU game really a lot in the first half where the tackling was like, wait, to me, it looked like arm tackling. Maybe that's not the right way you saw it, but how does that happen when you are an elite defense? Is it just you get, I don't know, what is it? You coach, like how does this happen sometimes?
Well, the biggest thing sometimes, man, it's just you have an off night, but I think it's a lack of focus. Defense is about 1-2. At the end of the day, man, my job is to get you on the ground. It's a very simple concept. If the ball is over there, I need to run as fast as I can, and I need to try to knock the crap out of you in order to get you to the ground, in order to get that ball away from you. When you look at what our defense did, we had opportunities to get them on the ground like everybody saw, but to me, it was a situation where we just didn't do what we were trained to do, right? For whatever reason, this one week, I saw a team that looked like they were untrained. I saw a team that looked like they were undisciplined. And what I mean by undisciplined is not that it's the penalties. It was the fact that the normal things that you do every day, the EDDs, the everyday drills that you do, the tackling, we did not put that together this week. Now, that could be a combination of things. That could be you feeling yourself. That could be you trying to make highlight reels instead of doing the ordinary routine things. Those are the type of things, man, that compound in games. And then when you start allowing drives to live, you start allowing drives to continue to move forward. Now you start pressing. When we got into that third drive, that fourth drive, you're pulling into the second quarter, you saw a defense that started pressing now because they felt it. You can feel the momentum swings. You can feel the rhythm of the offense, and you're starting to press to make plays. And so all that stuff, man, it starts to become a domino effect. It becomes a springboard, man, where it leads to bad habits. It leads to penalties. And I think this is one of those things where it could be a great teaching tape. I think it could be one of the best things that's happened to us defensively because now you've had your first real game where it was bad. It was trash. It was terrible. And so now coach can go in. I got your attention now. And you can finish out strong. But that's how that stuff happens, man. It's a domino effect. It's a springboard. And sometimes you're just lazy. Sometimes you just don't do you just don't do what you're trained to do. And that's what happened on Saturday.
Don't you think that part of what we're talking about here, and this does not excuse it, does not, is life in the SEC. If you are not focused, you can be at home and get your butt kicked, or you can go on the road and get embarrassed. And I mean, that's for most teams. I know that not a lot of teams. There's a lot of top teams that have not lost by 24 points. I get that, right? And A&M did, even though I think we all know the score was tighter. But life in the SEC is you can get punched in the mouth when you go on the road.
Well, we talked about that. Remember how we said, man, look, I felt good going into the game because I knew what we had. But also at the same time, we knew what South Carolina was capable of. We knew that South Carolina should have 2 more wins on their schedule if they do what they're supposed to do. We knew that South Carolina has 4 defensive linemen that are going to be in the NFL. We knew that was the case, but that's also the case in the SEC. Look what Vanderbilt's doing. Look at Kentucky beating Ole Miss. Look at all the things that happen. This is a parity-driven league where there's guys everywhere. And then the one time that you don't show up ready, the one time you don't show up with your A game, that's the outcome. Now, the beautiful thing about this, and this is what I love about Elko, is I love the way that the team is built. The team is built to be gritty. The team is built to be tough. And I think this team will respond, right? And we have created an expectation. And I think this is a learning experience. I think this is a learning experience that can be a catalyst for the rest of the Michael era moving forward, or Elko era moving forward. Here's why I say that. Because when you're putting the team together, when you're on a streak like we were, when you're building momentum, the expectation comes. And you have to learn how to go from good to great to championship. The only difference between us, between the Georgias, between the Alabamas is when they get in those games and they get in those moments, those playmakers understand that we have to be able to thrive in these situations. And that was the greatest lesson we could learn from this week. That's the takeaway. What I see in this team, man, I see a team that can pummel you. I see a team that's physically tough. I see a team that can make plays. But now it's getting over the mental hump. It goes back to what I said last week. The players have to take ownership now. The coaches have done their job. The coaches have put you in a position to control your destiny. It's player-led from this moment on now. And this is going to be the exciting part to see how they do that, how they progress moving forward through the season.
All right, we're breaking it down with Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live on the Boss Firearms Hotline. All right, people don't like to pick out good performances and losses, right?
Yeah.
And I picked out 2. I just want you to respond to them. Randy Bond deserves all the props because he kept them in the game, right?
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I think Jabri Barber, I mean, not only because his stats proved it, he just seemed to be somebody that connected. There was chemistry with he and Marcel.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, I think the score was not indicative of what the game was. When you look at South Carolina, they put the 2 scores on late, that kind of thing. But look, we had great performances from individual pieces, right? You're looking at Barber, what he did at the receiver position, making plays constantly, Bond keeping us within games. That's the one thing that I like about this team, and I think people need to see through the mud right now. Is right now we play together as a team. We didn't do it well this past weekend, but overall, from a seasonal standpoint, we have always been able to counter each other. Offenses off, defense can come in. Defenses off, offenses found a way to make plays. It's been one of those things where it's been going back and forth all year. This week, we just couldn't complete the task. But man, looking at the individual performances, looking how guys are starting to rise, looking how Marcel is keeping us within games, especially in a situation like that, man, players are playing well. The biggest part now is the finishing part. I don't know how else to stress it. It comes down to the players, Dave. It comes down to the players. It has to be a player-led thing moving forward because the breakthrough is right on the other side. We've been knocking that wall down all season long, knocking it down. But, man, if they can just learn to just keep striking, it's going to fall at some point. And so, man, being able to get all these individual pieces to play as a team, man, is going to be crucial in this last stretch run.
This is an unfair question, but I'm just going to ask it. Does A&M have an elite defense, considering what just happened, but then considering what we've seen all season long as well, right? Like, can they be an elite defense that had a horrendous night, or when you have a horrendous night like this, you can't be considered an elite defense?
Well, I judge an elite defense based off the body of work. And yes, we have an elite defense. We have an elite defense because we have an elite front. That's why. Now, when you look at it overall, man, there's going to be nights, there's going to be blimps, there's going to be all that stuff, man. It is a season. It's a 12-game sample size, and you can't be perfect all 12 games. There's going to be times, man, where you're going to have to gut it out. There's going to be times where you just can't get right. And it was one of those situations defensively where we just couldn't get right. But I think a lot of what it was defensively was the penalties that we had, but also the alignments. I have to do better. I need to apologize to you for texting you so much during the games, man. I can't help myself, Dave. It's the coach in me, it's the player in me. But when I was looking at how we were lined up defensively, we were literally out leveraged from the snap. And it was driving me nuts watching them in condensed formations because South Carolina saw something on film that we didn't adjust to. And I think that a lot of it had to do with just where we were schematically, and guys were having to make terrific plays, man, on defense. Now, we have the players who can do that. The defense has been doing their thing all year long. We are still an elite defense, and we will continue to be an elite defense. I just think that this was the perfect recipe. It was the perfect night. All things fell together for South Carolina, and they were able to take advantage of us in crucial situations.
Take me into a halftime of what's going on, because we see the clips, right, on the pulse. You see Coach Elko addressing the team and, firing them up and telling them what's at stake. But then how do the adjustments get made? Do they break out in groups before, after? Like, kind of take us into what a halftime looks like.
Well, every halftime I've ever been a part of, man, that you'll get in there, offense, defense, separate, but then you go into your position groups, right? Everybody's talking. You're talking with your positional coach, like, hey, here's the initial adjustment for our position. Then the defensive coordinator will come in and be like, okay, look, here's the overall adjustment and what we need to do as a team, as schematically, all that. Then head coach will come in and be like, okay, here's the 3 keys that we need in the second half in order to finish. That's usually the breakdown. Like, the one thing about college halftimes, and then, I'm basing off NFL, man, college halftime seem like they take forever, right? You're there, man, you're staying hydrated. They got the snacks in the locker room. You're in there for 30 minutes. But, man, when you're going through, man, sometimes you can sit too long. Sometimes you can overanalyze the situation, right? At the end of the day, man, the coaches will come in here and they'll give you 1 or 2 key points, and then you just got to go out there and on the field and you just got to go play. At the end of the day, man, football comes down to players. It comes down to Jimmys and Joes. It is my job to physically beat you. Point blank, period. I can have the best schemes in the world. I can have the best motivation in the world. All that stuff is nice. But, man, in order for me to execute, in order for me to hold my head up high and celebrate at the end of the game requires an individual one-on-one effort where I'm dominating you. And for this one weekend, we didn't do that very well on defense. So that's something, man, where we're just being honest, but I'm not discouraged. I'm actually encouraged about how we can move forward. And, man, this can be a propel or point that can propel us moving forward for the SEC title run.
So I'm going to close it out with the way I've been kind of presenting things. I'll maybe describe it a little differently, but I think A&M, regardless of Le'Veon's there or not, should win, obviously, against New Mexico State. And I think going on the road against Auburn is extremely difficult.
Yes.
All right? But a game A&M should still win. Okay? I'm sorry. They should still win.
Yes.
It's a hard game, and I'm not guaranteeing that it's a win, right? But, I feel like that's a game they should win. But the Texas game, I've been saying, I don't know if it's a game they should win. It's a game that they can win. And here's my why. Okay. That the defensive front, for the most part, has caused issues to every quarterback they have faced. For the most part. All right? And I just don't think Quinn Ewers and that offensive line can withstand the amount of blitzes that Elko's going to dial up, the amount of pressure that defensive line. He's not Lenore Sellers. So I guess what I'm saying is we keep talking about, they've got to win out to have a chance to be in the playoffs, and then they got to win again in the SEC championship game. It's not a ridiculous thought, right? These are all possible because of matchups, right, Jordan?
Yes. Look, yes, we can win every game. We can win every game that we played since the beginning of the season all the way up to this point. We're supposed to. Here's the deal. New Mexico, that's a win. Auburn should be a win. Auburn has the talent. Auburn they've been getting in their own way all year long. So those are the games that scare you because you don't know which Auburn is going to show up. Is it going to be the world beater Auburn? Is it going to be the Auburn that beats itself? Texas, I think from a matchup standpoint, to your point, that we match up extremely well with them. I think that we're dominant on both fronts of the line when it comes to Texas. But the number one thing is they have a pocket quarterback who is not able to be elusive. And with our D line, man, that can cause terror, that can cause havoc. Georgia gave the blueprint on that, right? And we can match what Georgia did against Texas with our defensive front, right? So look, there's nothing wrong with the expectation. I'm going to say this again. I expect for us to finish strong. I expect for us to finish 3-0. I expect us to be in Atlanta for the SEC championship because we have everything that we need. We have all the resources. We have the player talent. We have the right head coach in place. It's time for the players to take ownership. If we want to get over the top, if we want to break through, and if we want to be the team that we know that we are, the players have to take responsibility at this point. People have got to understand that this thing is driven by the players. And once that belief and once that standard is set, and once they know how to finish and break through, everything that we want to accomplish is on the other side.
Jordan, great stuff, man. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Jordan Pugh on the Boss Farms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll do an open segment on the other side. FBS and their team of experts are here to help you with the appliances that make your house a home. They carry all the top brands, and they've been caring for Texas since 1988. They're committed to customer satisfaction, and it's at the core of everything that they do. They want to pride themselves on offering a comprehensive solution that sets them apart from the competition. They specialize in providing top-notch sales and installation services for the leading brands, ensuring a seamless experience for all of their customers. They have 8 showrooms across the state of Texas. They got one right down the road here on Welborn in College Station. Visit their website, factorybuilderstores.com. That is factorybuilderstores.com. Check out FBS. And we are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance studio, a moment for Rollo Insurance. I know that many of you are good at what you do, and I can guarantee you that Rollo Insurance is very good at what they do. Find out what my family and many others around the Brazos Valley have found out, because they take care of this community with their awesome insurance, and they're going to put you in the right insurance situation for you. If that's your house, your car, your farmer's insurance, your business insurance, they want to make sure that they take great care of you. And if you have a goal without a plan, well, that's just a wish. And they want to get you through that. Sooner or later, you're going to have to put things together, and they're going to do that all for you. So what you should do is go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and get it started right now. Or you can call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, 888-44-ROLLO. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Coop is in the house. Cooper Patterson, I know you got a couple things to start things off with. That's called bad English.
Yeah, well...
Thanks for the smile when I said that, too. You're like, I'm not going to make fun of my boss here.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. In his press conference, Coach Elko announced that Le'Veon Moss has been ruled out for the season from the injury sustained to his leg on Saturday versus South Carolina. This is sad news for the junior back. Sorry, and for the Aggies. He finishes the season with 121 yards, 765 carries, and 10 touchdowns. When asked about moving anyone else to running back to provide depth, Coach Elko said, I think we'll try to look at everything on the table. I think we'll try to figure out what the right solution is for us. Obviously, we're confident in Amari and his ability to go back there. EJ will provide the primary backup, but I think at this point, everything is on the table. And then we also have a text from Madden from Houston. He says, the offense has to change with Moss out. They can't lean on the run anymore. So I want to ask you, David, where do you think the offense has to go? Are they going to be able to get it done in the running game with Amari and EJ, or is that something they have to completely pivot from or kind of make it more balanced?
Well, no, I don't think more balanced probably, because you don't have your bell cow running back. But I don't think you have to pivot from being a run-dominant team. Coach Elko wants to dominate the line of scrimmage, right? Let's not forget that Amari Daniels led this team in rushing last year. Like, that's a fact, that he has been awesome for them. He led them in rushing against LSU. What I will say is dominate the offensive line, and E.J. Smith will look a lot better. Amari Daniels will look a lot better. Getting Chase Basantas back, if he comes back, and I think he will come back sooner, then that obviously makes a difference. But I think you maybe pivot in the play calls that you have like you would for a quarterback, right? So if your quarterback is a pocket kind of guy, you're not going to be putting him in some of the same situations you would put Marcel Reed in. Maybe there's a little bit of a hybrid situation you could do there. And if you have some troubles with the zone option, the read option with Amari, because there were some fumbles in the game, right? There wasn't a clean... You work on that, you figure it out, or you tailor your run game to what Amari does best. And that, I still think, you don't abandon your identity, you continue your identity, but you refine the way you go about it, and you clean it up in that capacity. Like, they are still going to be a run team. Now, when teams stack the box and force Marcel to throw, the thing that gets me excited was when they did that against Arkansas, he had a hard time throwing the ball. What they did against South Carolina is he threw the ball pretty efficiently. So that's what I expect to see. To force them to back off, and then you go right back to your Amari Daniels, E.J. Smith situation. All right, we're going to hit a break here. When we come back, Damontre Moore. Haven't talked to Damontre in a few weeks, get his thoughts on everything happening. It's a Tuesday, so we like to catch up with the former players here. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet, you know you're going to get a great deal. They're going to give you a good deal on your vehicle. I've done it before. Many people who work at TexAgs have bought their vehicles at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. If you're looking for, a great option, that's the option you start with, because if you go online, you'll see all the cars. When you get there, you're going to be blown away by the customer service experience. You're going to get a good value on your trade-in and also a good price. And they have an awesome selection of vehicles to choose from. And it's not that far of a drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginning of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. I saw Damontre rocking the song. I saw him moving his head. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find the Damontre Moore here on the program. What's up? How you been, Damontre? Is he there? Is he there? He's not there. I see him. I see him on the hotline. We'll try again with Damontre. All right. Nick is sending him a message or something. I'm not really sure what's going on. So we'll check in with Damontre. All right. We'll check in with Damontre Moore here in a moment. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Give me one stat you haven't given me. Find one.
Stat.
You've got 12 seconds to figure it out. 5, 4, 3. See how I went from 12 to 5?
Yeah. Right. I got an A&M basketball stat.
Okay.
A&M led the game for 88.4% of the game and still lost.
Say that again?
A&M led last night for 88.4% of the game and still lost.
And you're talking about basketball there?
Basketball, yes.
Yep. That's interesting. Good start, terrible finish. Right?
Exactly.
That's the bottom line. All right. Does Damontre Moore hear me? Move your head if you hear me and say, yeah, what's up, son? I think we're ready. We go back to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Damontre, we're over here talking to you. I think we're talking to you. Damontre, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
No, I can't. I'm kidding. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
How you been?
I've been good, man. Doing better now that I got over damaging my vocal cords with my little league football team.
You were telling me you're coaching, man.
I'm coaching. You said, huh?
Yeah. Just tell me more about the coaching.
So I'm coaching for my little league football team, the Redbird Raiders, that I used to play little league football with. We're the longest running football organization in Dallas that's still around. Celebrate 60 years this year. So I played for them. My uncle played for them, and it's funny because my nephew is actually playing for them right now, and so I'm coaching up his team. And so we got 3 generations that went through that organization. So we actually start playoffs this week.
Well, let's talk a little A&M football because we were going to talk last week, but then you got busy and you were taking care of your vocal cords. The LSU game, we're on this high. The South Carolina game, we're way down here. So kind of just give me your takeaways about the current state of Aggie football, understanding the most recent game is the one that stings the most, obviously.
Yes, that was a phenomenal question. What it said, doubleheader. As far as going on that LSU high, it was immaculate. That goes without being said. That was one of the best teams in the SEC, and for us to come in there, pull off a huge win like that, and arguably, if you're not an Aggie fan, quote unquote, an upset, but do what we were capable of doing and playing to our best of our ability. Now, you turn back around and come to the South Carolina game. We all knew it was going to be a trap, and this game was every bit of that. It was the epitome of a trap game. No slight to South Carolina. We all know SEC play is hard week in and week out. Take a look at Vanderbilt that's over there dominating people and scaring people right now. But going into that, we've only given up, it was a funny stat I was reading, 19 missed tackles before this game. Coming out of that game, we had 29 missed tackles, and most of those were against the quarterback alone. So I don't know what happened within this week, but we just got away from the basics, and I think we were still riding on that little high horse. And what they say, the school nerd came over there and punched us in the face and made us get off our high horse.
Let's talk a little bit about this offense because it was really good for 4 or 5 possessions, right? The second half was not good at all. I mean, they got outscored 24-0 in the second half. They just really, every time they got close, there was a mistake. Well, there was the one time they got super close, and they had obviously the interception. So just how do you assess what the offense did and what they can do now that Le'Veon is out?
Man, well, that's if I had the answer, I'm pretty sure that the offensive coordinator would have had the answer. I don't think you can plan for that. Losing Le'Veon Moss, one of the biggest focal points of our team, we all seen once that injury happened, everybody around him was like a deer in headlights. Everybody was just wondering. And so trying to pick up that momentum, get back into the swing of thing, and then just being comfortable. Like they forgot what got them there. Like they were overthinking it and doing too much. And I feel like certain people were just trying to overcompensate because it's like, hey, we got to come back, build this momentum. And now that we're in panic mode, instead of relying on your fundamentals, you're trying to do too much. If it's something as simple as a bobble snap, if it's something as simple as coming in, beating a tackle clean and having a clean, free sack available and just tackling him up high. It's like, our defense has been the focal point and the strength of our whole team this whole year and have been playing lights out. No slight to them. But this wasn't our defense that showed up. We were missing tackles that we were making week 2, week 3 that you thought that would have been the tackling fundamentals their first week and not realizing that we're mid-season.
Troy, why do you think? Like, what do you think? How does that happen, I guess, is my question.
That happens once you lose your leader. That shows you how integral. He wasn't just a cog. Everybody is a cog, but he was one of the biggest cogs in losing Le'Veon Moss. Like, let's not get any of this misconstrued. We have been a second half team this whole year. For some reason, it's like the lights just turn on in the fourth quarter and we can go out there and make the plays. If it's Connor Wingman that's at quarterback or if it's Marcel Reese, they've been able to show that they build that momentum. And it starts with your running back when they're chipping away, chugging along, being that choo-choo train and that locomotive that is that constant effort. You naturally get a little more juice. You naturally, as a defensive player, like, hey, I see my running back over there making plays. We just got to get him the ball back because he's going to break it loose. And no slight to them. Daniels came in and he stepped up and he made some plays, but he's no Le'Veon Moss. He's no Ruben Owens. And that goes to show you the testament of the depth that we had, that we have had people week in and week out step up. It was just this time we were reaching at the bottom of the barrel, as my brother said, and we, at that point in time, nobody was prepared to take on that leadership role. I think they will be able to coming out of this bye week, but at that time we didn't have nobody that stepped up in the South Carolina game that says, hey guys, this is not us. Let's go out here and make the plays. Let's go make these tackles that are basic. It's not like they're doing too much. We knew what they were going to do, and vice versa on offense. Let's go out here and do our same thing. Our pass is predicated off of the run. The run has to start not only with Marcel Reese, but it has to start with those running back and those other guys being able to take that on their shoulders.
So what did you think of Marcel's performance throughout this season in especially South Carolina?
I think he's playing immaculate. I hate to say, hey, for a freshman, he's doing good, but he's playing good as a veteran right now. Excluding the South Carolina game, he's done what he needs to do to win the games and show that he is a flashy playmaker. He's went out there when his name was called upon. He went down there and won in the swamp. Most people aren't doing that. I mean, to go down there in Gator Country and just do that and win in the style that he won in, most seniors aren't doing that. And for him to be doing that as a true freshman, and not only for Connor to come back in, have the success he had, for him to go back, being benched, being a good teammate, but then when the time was called and they rung upon him, he showed back up and won a tremendous game. Like I said, excluding South Carolina game, he has stepped up to that task. But this is where I'm excited to see, because this is what separates the Joes from the blows. This is where, hey, you can take a punch and you get a little adversity. The good quarterbacks go in there, learn from their mistakes, and they come out with a vengeance, which I think that's what he's going to do. But this is going to be the best time. Like, when he's been in, everything's been peaches and roses. Now that he has a little adversity and has to come back off a bye week, not only, and I'm not talking about New Mexico State, I don't want us to win and then people say, oh, we're back into the mix. I want to see what he does against Auburn, then leading up to there to go to Texas. Like, can he build that momentum and said, hey, yeah, I got punched, but then I answered the call. And so far, he has answered the call by going on the bench and showing up to make the big plays that he needs to, and doing that once again as a true freshman. Nice.
You had a savage mindset as a player. So what do you think that defensive line is thinking after all season long being told how good they are, right? And they are that good. Yes, but then being outplayed by a South Carolina defensive line. Not that they went against each other, but the storyline of that game was South Carolina's defensive line stopped A&M from doing most things they wanted to do offensively. And A&M did not stop South Carolina from doing things that they wanted to do, running the ball with both Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders. What do you think is like? You think they're angry? Do you think they're ready to prove something? You think they got that savage mindset?
I'm gonna tell you three things. While you were asking me that question, phenomenal question. What is their mindset? If you see me over here, everybody at home, you notice I'm kind of clenching my knuckles and stuff because I'm naturally getting angry to hear you talk about that. The three things that are going to take factor in this: one, I know a few of those young guys, Shamar Stewart, Turner, everybody. Those guys are dogs and they're ready to hunt. As a competitor, anytime that you lose, especially when they're comparing you to somebody else, you naturally get mad and say, "Hey, I got to come back and I got to prove to why I am the guy." Not only in those guys that I named, Nick going out there, big play Nick. Like that whole defensive line is full of potential first and second day guys for sure, hands down. But not only that, they have a former defensive line player in their coach, Tony Gerard Eddie, who is my brother. That man has the epitome of tenacity. He's going to go out there and he's not only going to challenge them, but he's going to show them how they can be better. And the third and most important thing, for them to be the focal point, and everybody knows they're the backbone of that team, but to have a defensive head coach, the Texas A&M, the epitome of wrecking crew, he's going to take that on his shoulder and say, that's a challenge. Me as a defensive coach, maybe I messed up the fundamental, but we're going to go out here and we're going to impose our will for the next, I don't care what goes on the other side of that ball. And I know that's how defensive coaches talk. And for him to be talking like that, I can just envision it right now. I wish y'all could see under my jackets. I'm getting goosebumps. But when I tell you these guys are going to be a pack of wild dogs that are hunting and getting this rabbit, they're going to get the taste of blood with New Mexico State. Let's not get it twisted. You got to show up every week. But now that you got that taste of blood in New Mexico State, it's time to get back into this SEC play and stack up against Auburn, and then eventually getting ready for that big one at the end of the game. But it starts by taking it 1 week at a time, one play at a time, by dominating that person. If you do that every day, I promise you the cards are going to fall where they need to fall. And I know Tony Gerard Eddie has got the boys hunting like that. So I'm not worried about them. Sometimes you got to take a car. No car is perfect. You got to take it to the mechanic shop to get a tune-up. And guess what, baby? Over this bye week, I know they're going to get the tune-up, and they're going to be ready, coming, rolling, hunting.
Damontre, what about the penalties, the defensive penalties more than anything? Just, like I want an aggressive defense. I like to make sound effects when they hit people, right? But, these were costly.
Mm-hmm. Definitely was. What they say, penalty cannot win games. You have to hold yourself accountable. There's a thin line between that old quote, it's a thin line between love and hate. Well, there's a thin line between control chaos and stupidity. At the end of the day, I didn't see any stupid plays. I seen frustrations, rising emotion that's going to come with the game. But now it's about channeling that emotion and having that control chaos. Having somebody that's over here that's ready to be the guy, but have a guy like when I was playing in my tenure there, having a guy like a Michael Hodges or a Sean Porter to say, hey, Damontre, bring it back in. You got to focus and do this right here. But then also every now and again, you're going to have that dog in Michael Hodges and Sean Porter that's going to snap. And then you might see a Damontre Moore or a Spencer Neely saying, hey, bring that back in. So that the team has to police itself to get to where we want to be at, to be in this college ranking, to be ready. Because like I said, nothing is guaranteed, but to line up all the chips and take care of what we need to take care of. Every coach tells their team before we going into the penalties. Penalties cannot kill us. Do not shoot yourself in the foot. And I'm telling you, after shooting ourselves in the foot, because nothing against South Carolina, that running back was out there looking like Brandon Jacobs in his prime, big, fast, and toting everything. But to know that we were still in that game, let's not forget anything. Until the last 6 minutes of that fourth quarter, it was only a 10-score game, and we were right there in the hunt with all the mistakes that we made. So if anything, after I chew y'all out, I'm going to give y'all a little praise and say it's a sandwich. Hey, here's the bad stuff. Here's the meat and potatoes. Stop with the penalty. But then I'm going to give you the bread at the end and tell you, hey, even with that being said, we still could have beat that game. We still could have beat that team. We were still in the game and in the mix. So control it amongst yourself. And that's just something, like I said, it's going to come with time. They're going to have a bye week to focus on all those penalties, focus on the attention to details. And once you focus on the attention to detail, you can go out there and play what they say, lights out, fast, physical, and dominant.
Damontre, let's close out with this thought. Just what kind of A&M team do you expect to get after the bye week when they take on New Mexico State, Auburn, and then eventually close out with Texas? What kind of A&M team? Are we going to see the team we've seen for most of the season? We're going to get a little bit of hybrid of what we saw in the South Carolina game.
Man, that is a great question. Yes. What kind of team? Let's say this. The team that I know
from based off the facts and the numbers and what they have proven, is the team that I hope that we're going to see and that I know we're going to see with that coach and Mike Elko. Think about after the Notre Dame game, a game that we should have won, and even with all that being said, it was a game of mistakes and injuries that we did amongst ourselves. We reset, and after that, the rest was history. We were on rolling and we fixed it. That is the sign of a great defensive coach. Not only a great defensive coach, that is the sign and a great head coach that he can show that defensive presence that I can still make those adjustments. You got a whole week of, just like South Carolina, they had 2 weeks to prepare for us. Well, guess what? We had 2 weeks to prepare for this later half of the season. And him being a defensive coach, they're all about making adjustments. So they're going to get in, they're going to attack, and they're going to realize, because they have the chance to do something special that has not been done, not only with renewing this rivalry, winning these games all the way out, going to the college football playoff that nobody thought we would make it. Nobody thought that Coach Elko could turn this program around in the way and the fashion that he has done. And the job is not done yet. I know he's still hungry and ready to get it. So if anything, I'm so ecstatic for the rest of this season. And just like y'all, I'm about to get my popcorn ready and enjoy the show.
Damontre, great stuff as always, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks and Gig'em. Appreciate you for having me.
Gig'em. Damontre Moore here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with some closing thoughts. Right now, Heritage Films. Chance McClain is the guy who runs that company. He's the founder. He's a friend. He's awesome. He's the kind of guy that will talk to you about Aggie football. He'll talk to you about politics. He tweets about it all the time, too. He'll talk to you about just being a good old boy. And that's who he is. He's a good old boy who's creative. I know that sometimes you don't put those two together. The guy's the most creative guy I know. Right? He's done red carpet shows. He's done Broadway musicals. He's done radio stations. He's done these movies. And Heritage Films is his passion to tell people's story. And I'm not lying to you when I say his best friends are all like 80 years old, right? And because he likes surrounding himself with people that have wisdom and knowledge and can share those stories. And when you have this kind of company, a lot of times that's the people that you deal with. But he can tell stories. He did a year flicks with my daughter Annalise years back, 2 years ago, and it was awesome. Those are the 20-minute video Q&A kind of benchmark videos that are fantastic, right? He does that, but he loves doing the Heritage Films where he's doing these 2-hour documentaries just telling people's story, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you go to yourheritagefilm.com. That is yourheritagefilm.com to learn about a 2-hour documentary for you, your family business, your family ranch, or you can call them up, 713-893-8341. That is 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. Calvin, I see you on the on the TexAgs chat page, and he says, like many Aggie game reviews, if. Yeah, you know what? You're right. There's a lot of ifs. And if they did this, and unfortunately, we live in a Aggie football world that there's a lot of ifs. By the way, there's a lot of football teams that are living that too. I don't want to live with so many ifs, right? But the reality is, clean up those plays, the game is different. But they didn't. So now you just got to clean it up for the rest of the way. But I understand your frustration there. If they did this, we've talked about that for years, right? Like even before I was in this chair. If they do that, if they do this, well, they didn't. And I trust that Coach Elko is going to figure it out because he's given me that every indication that he has. He fixes problems. He's like have you watched Pulp Fiction? No. He's like Harvey Keitel's character. Right? He just fixes things. And I expect him to fix this. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We got some news for Luke Joeckel?
Yes, sir. It's not an if. Luke Joeckel was named to the 2024 SEC Legends class. The Aggie legend, blocked for QBs like Ryan Tannehill and Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel. In 2012, he won the SEC Jacobs Blocking Trophy, awarded to the best lineman in the conference, as well as being named to the SEC first team. Among many other SEC accolades, Luke was drafted second overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2013 NFL Draft. An Aggie legend for sure, now officially an SEC legend.
Appreciate that. Good stuff, Coop. Great job today. Say hi to your dad for me. All right, he's watching the show right now. That's why I said that. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Tuesday. Mañana, Max Wright, John Harris, Jamie Morrison, Bronny, and Peter Burns. We'll see you mañana.